How's it going, everyone? It's Johnny Beard here with a very special episode of the Streamer Tiers podcast, our new podcast where we talk to fantastic streamers about tier lists. Today's guest is the absolutely brilliant Brutal Sue and one of my favourite people. Here she is.
Hello.
I meant none
Only
of that.
me.
I didn't mean any of that. I let me take it back.
He didn't. He's just sent me a really horrible message saying I don't mean it. I hate her. I hate you. Evil.
Oh. I had to get you on very early on this new podcast because you are an amazing being, a great friend, and it's definitely someone I wanted to talk tier lists with. Can't wait to hear some controversial opinions.
Ooh.
You got some spice.
Yeah.
You got some spice.
Bit of spice, bit of tea to spill. Yeah.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I do appreciate it. Very kind.
I'm so happy that you're here. You've been on this we've been on the Streamer Stories podcast twice, and you were one of the first guests on it, actually, weren't you? I think you were,
yeah.
I think it was episode 8. I need to check that. But I'm pretty sure it was episode 8. You were.
That was a while ago, wasn't it?
It was, and you know what? I think we've talked about this offline a few times, but we weren't that close really back then.
No.
We're bezies now.
Yeah, exactly.
Bezies.
Kindred spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't stand you back then. I'll be honest. Yeah, it was good couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, it's coming up to 3 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, blimey.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so funny, and now here we are. You know, you're
Here we are.
You've obviously been leading the Nightbreed since day one, and you've let me co-lead twice.
Oh,
you're very kind.
yeah.
I tried to get away, and then you went.
Oh. No, get back here. You get back here. Wrangled you back in.
It's not true. It's not true. But no, you're a wonderful friend, and thank you for being.
Oh, thank you. Likewise.
So you how's streaming been for the last few years? Obviously, you were also on the Indie Horror. Again, another episode you should all check out. It's the Indie Horror Tribute. That was coming up to about 18 months ago. Oh my god.
Yeah.
But how are things generally? Obviously, I know how you are, but generally speaking, for those who may not have had a catch up with Brutal Sue.
Very, very well, thank you. Yes. Streams are going great. I feel like I've really found my place after 4 years. I finally feel like I've found where I belong in streaming. Now I'm just enjoying the ride.
Yeah. So you hit your 4-year affiliate recently, haven't you? So yeah, wow.
Yes.
Goodness.
Lots changed since the early days, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, loving it. Absolutely loving it.
Oh, you're right. You are killing it. You really are. I'm so proud of you, mate. But yeah, so you mostly stream horror.
Bit of horror. I've been known to play a bit of horror, yeah.
And today's tier list is horror.
Oh my god, the shock, the horror.
What's the shock in the horror?
I am very surprised.
And so is everyone else.
Yes.
So we've got an horror tier list.
Yeah.
So we've got S, A, B, C. Let's read them out. So we've got scary as fuck, S tier. Obviously, it doesn't have to be scary, but we are going to say S tier is masterpiece, aren't we? So
yeah,
it's one of the best horror games.
Sexy tier.
The sexy could be sexy as fuck, scary / sexy as fuck, or both.
Yeah. Depending on your preferences. Yeah.
Yes. Atmospherically great, bloody decent, cripplingly okay, just dumb, fucking dreadful, or graveyard no opinion.
No opinion.
We're not going to have that because we had this horror list was humongous. We've whittled it down a bit to around 50 to 60 games.
Yeah.
It's going to be quite snappy, I think.
We're going to be let's just talk. We'll have to just talk really fast, or I can just use thumbs up, thumbs down, mid.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Probably doesn't translate well for a podcast, mind you.
No, if it's on Spotify and voice only, then
again.
not good. Yeah. All right. So what I'll do is I'll put the game in C tier. We'll discuss the game.
Okay.
All right. So first game is 7 Days to Die.
Okay.
Talk about this.
Well, I enjoyed it very much. It is a game that you can play quite often and with people or solo. So that on itself is good because I like a game that you can play on your own or with friends.
Yeah.
That is good. But it is a grindy game.
Okay.
And I personally don't have a lot of patience. If you hadn't noticed, I don't have a lot of patience with grindy games. But that being said, it is a good game. The concept is excellent.
Okay.
Um,
I've never played it. So
it's like you have to collect things. You know, it's like it's any game, like Minecraft, any of those kind of games. You have to collect things. You have to build stuff, whilst trying to stay alive. So it is good fun. It is enjoyable. I would recommend playing it with someone else because it is quite difficult solo. Personally, not my favourite format for horror. So I would stick it in C.
see, we're gonna
Stick it right in the C.
Right. Oh wow.
I don't like the word cripplingly okay though.
What should we call it?
It's a good. It's a good game. It's just personally, I found it a little bit.
I can just call
a
it
bit hard
okay
work.
if you want. They obviously go with the C, aren't they? But okay. We'll just call it
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can't comment on it. I've never played it. Alan Wake.
Yeah.
I get this is a game on top of my list. I need to play it. I was going to play it soon on stream actually, but I still, it's probably going to be a few months from now. I think before I finally get to this.
I'm putting it on S tier personally.
Wow.
I really, really liked Alan Wake. It's quite a unique game. I don't want to spoil it if you've not played it. There's some cringy bits in there for me. Like do you know the concept of Alan? Do you know anything about Alan?
I don't really know the concept behind it. I've tried to avoid it's always been one of those games that came up over the years as I remember coming out and getting meh reviews, and then as time's gone on, the cult behind it has grown, hasn't it? And
I liked it. There's a whole universe with Alan Wake as well because there's quite a few games that are all sort of intertwined.
Control, I believe, isn't it?
Yes. Control is in there, and I can't remember what the other game is. But I personally really liked it. Like I said, there's a few it's horror. There's going to be cringy bits. There's going to be bits that make you go like, "Oh, that's awful." But the concept again, really good. Voice acting amazing. Graphics are really good as well. And it's a good story. I think it's a good story.
Where would you...
I'm going to go with S.
It's not on the list.
I would play it again.
But where would you put Alan Wake 2?
Alan Wake 2, I'd probably put that on A.
Oh wow, okay, yeah.
But that got a lot less love.
Really?
Yeah, and I really enjoyed it.
That's
but I was very much like sort of sucked into that universe at that point, and I was invested. You know, I'd played Control as well, so I was like, I want to play all of the games in that universe.
Yeah.
I really liked it though. I think some people thought it was a bit of a cash grab.
Oh, I didn't.
But it didn't. It didn't feel like it to me. Please don't come for me, everyone. I'm sorry, but yeah, I really liked it. I put it in A, definitely. Phrasing. I'd put it underneath S.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought people liked it more than the first. But
oh really? Maybe I've got it wrong.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I know when I played it, I had a lot of people going, "Oh, this one," and I was like, "I like it. I think it's good."
Okay. We got the first Alice game.
Oh, first Alice. It's a classic.
Yeah.
Classic game. I would say for people like you and myself and people that are okay with playing older games. This isn't an age dig, just people that are okay with any age game. It's brilliant. Graphically, it hasn't aged particularly well. I still enjoy it. If you're into like Alice stuff, I think it is a decent game. It's not brilliant, but I didn't hate it. I'd probably put that in. A is a bit generous.
Yeah.
I'm going to say B just because the graphics aren't. It hasn't aged brilliantly.
Yeah.
But it is still playable. It's a bit janky, you know. But
I need to play the Alice games. I've not played them.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
It's a platformer game. Like if you like platformer games that are a little bit dark, that's the ones to go to. Definitely.
Yeah, I do. I need to play it. I've got it. I just haven't. Yeah, I just haven't played it yet.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see you play that. I think you'd really enjoy. Definitely.
You got Alice, the Madness Returns, in it.
S, straight in S.
Wow.
Beautiful game.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Amazing.
I would play them in the order of release, just so you can really appreciate where it came from.
Yeah, that was my thought process.
Yeah, it's a lot darker, and just it's a beautiful game. It's a beautiful game. It's a lot easier to play. It's not as janky, not as tanky. I absolutely loved it, and the story is quite heavy. Okay. It's quite a dark game, and sadly that is where it ends because
no more.
No more, sadly.
There's been lots of begging. please,
Yeah.
Mr. McGee.
Well, he wants to. It's not. It's very complicated from what I've
it's because
from what I
EA
gather.
own rights,
It's
I think.
EA. Yeah, I would just personally, I'd just rename it. Bring that new game out and just don't call it Alice.
Stan.
Call it Alison. Call it Alison.
Alison.
Honestly, I would.
Alison,
yeah, for
Alison,
me. Yeah,
Alison's Wonderland.
yeah, Wumferland.
Alison's Wunderbar.
Wunderbar. Yeah, S for me. I've played it several times. Would play it again. May well play it again.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've avoided a lot of playthroughs because I want to play it myself.
Yeah, definitely recommend.
We got Alan Isolation. Good old Alan.
Brilliant. That's got to be an S as well, right? That's got to be.
Your tier list.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of asking myself, but yeah.
I personally, I've not played it. I have seen a lot of playthroughs of it, and I, just personally speaking, I seem to feel like it's a game of two halves. Like the first half is just very slow and it builds tension, but
Yes.
I don't necessarily find it to be tense. But again, maybe people who do feel the tension would. I don't know. So I do feel like it's a bit of a slog, and then when it kicks off, it does kick off.
That's it. Yeah. You've described it perfectly, but I think that was the intent behind it. I think it was supposed to almost give you a false sense of security, like, oh, is that all this is? Just
where are the aliens?
Lots of tense atmosphere, lots of like uncertainty as to what's coming, which I think is the whole point. That could have been cut down a little bit, but like again, graphics spot on. You genuinely feel like you're in an alien movie.
Yeah.
Like they've captured the sound, the look, the feel, everything is alien. It's perfect. But you are quite right. It does feel like two separate games because for a long time, not a lot is happening. You're sort of wandering around, collecting bits and pieces, learning what's going on.
Yeah,
and then bam, you've got and it's not just one enemy. It's not just alien. There's a whole bunch of issues. You know, you're dealing with the working Joes and other humans that don't like you as well. So it's a lot all at once, but I really enjoyed it. And the DLCs, I know they're not mentioned on here, but I feel like if you finish it and you want a little bit more, get the DLCs. Okay. But yeah, I'm putting that in S because I just played it recently for the second time. So it's replayability, I'd say.
There we go.
Yeah.
Amnesia Dark Descent.
I'm not going to be generous with everything, but that being said, also S.
Yeah.
I adore it. I absolutely adore that game. I have a lot of good memories of playing it way before the days of streaming, sitting in the dark playing that and being spooked out. I haven't played it for probably a good 3 years.
Yeah.
But I'd say the graphics are pretty decent for it. The story's brilliant. It's very atmospheric.
Yeah.
It's not you being chased continuously, which is nice because sometimes that gets a bit much, you know. There is an actual story to it. But yeah, it's a fantastic game. 100% recommend.
I have got a story behind this. I've played it, but I played it on easiest difficulty.
Yeah,
and
that's fine.
I played it on easiest difficulty probably about 4 years ago offline, and because I was playing on easy difficulty, nothing happened.
Oh really?
Nothing happened. It was like, where are the enemies? Where's the danger? Where's what? And it just didn't work, and it really put me off playing it. But I know I played it wrong.
I must have played it on normal because there was definitely things.
Yeah, I need to play it properly on normal difficulty. I'm thinking of, because you probably know already, but I do a Scaretober month. So I'm likely to put it into Scaretober, and
I would
and go right. We're playing Dark Descent, playing it properly. I want to know why this game is classed as an S tier by so many horror fans, because I didn't get it, but I didn't play it properly. So
no,
yeah,
that's interesting. I didn't know that. But even, I mean, if you take the scary elements from it, you know, like the things that chase you and bother you throughout the game, the actual atmosphere alone, I think, is really good. You know, you're in a spooky old castle. Like it's lovely as far as horror goes. It's kind of perfect setting.
Yeah.
And the story is, I mean, I'm not the brightest spark when it comes to stories of horror. Sometimes it takes me a while to kind of click, but this definitely does leave you like curious for a long time. Even though the name kind of does give it away, you're like, I don't know what's happening for a long time, but it's enough to keep you wanting more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sticking with that S for sure.
Nice. No, that's cool. Then we got Bendy and the Ink Machine. What's all this bendy business then?
What's all this bendy business? I wanted to love it. I really did.
Yeah.
I love the idea, the look of it. You know, it's quite different, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah.
not full color, which is very cool. Well, it kind of is, but it isn't. It's got that sort of sepia vibe going.
Yeah.
I found it a bit of a chore,
Yeah.
to be honest. I think there was a few cool interactions and a few bits that I was like, oh, that's really cool. But for the main part, I was like, now what? You know, when a game's like, oh, more, okay. And I know it's got a big fan base, and this is just my own opinion, but yeah, I see, because again, it's well voice acted. It looks good.
Yeah.
The concept of it is great, especially if you like that sort of old timey, you know, early Disney sort of graphics. But
yeah.
personally, I found it a bit of a chore.
I've not played Bendy, but I've heard it was arguably one of the first proper like mascot horror games, and that it started to make money almost despite itself, and it felt like they were.
That makes sense.
It's like before Poppy, Poppy's Playtime.
Yeah.
It was doing it before Poppy did it. So like the first episode was great, the second episode was okay, the third episode was and it just kind of, I've heard again. I'm just speaking from what I've heard, not from personal experience, but yeah.
It could have been a bit more. I think there could have been more to it. But I mean, give it a try. You might like it. I'm just some random person on the internet's opinion. You know, it doesn't mean it's bad. Definitely well made though. You know, it's not janky. So I'm gonna put it in cripplingly okay.
Yeah.
Give it a C.
We've renamed it to just okay now.
All right, sorry, yeah, because that's quite a mouthful.
Cripplingly okay.
Okay, it's okay.
We got the first BioShock.
Oh, S forever. I love it. I think it's a fantastic game. It is literally my alarm clock ringtone. Is the theme to BioShock. I wake up to that every morning. I absolutely adore it. Again, it's aged well.
I think it's great. Yeah,
I think it's. Yeah, I know. Not to drop names, or if I can drop names, other streamers that are playing it. But my brother Shifty Hands is playing. I was just finished it. For some reason, had never got around to it, and it was so fun watching someone else play it for the first time.
Yeah.
Because of how much I love it. Would definitely recommend. And of all of the series as well, I think the first one's it can't be beat. Absolutely fantastic. I don't want to give too much. There are still people that haven't played it, so I don't want to give too much away. But it's very unique. Very unique.
I guess, especially for its time. Like at the time, there was nothing like BioShock.
No, there still really isn't. If you think of things like the soundtrack and the kind of time period that it's sort of setting, because I don't even know what the word is for that. When something's sort of futuristic but also old at the same time, it's brilliant. Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. And because it's got like some horror elements to it, but it's also got the shooter side of it. It kind of covers a lot of bases.
Yep, it's got RPG elements in it as well.
Yeah. A few little puzzles as well. So definitely, S for me. I think you could replay that a fair few times.
Yeah, completely agreed. Bloodborne.
Well, okay, aesthetically, it would be S. This is just for me. I know it's a good game, but I was really bad at it. And I'd never played a Souls game, and it was my first introduction to a Souls-like game. And I was like, where's the pause button? Everyone laughed at me immediately. They were like, no, Sue, no pause for you.
No pausey?
And the fact that it kind of relies on you to have people hop in and help you out kind of annoyed me a little bit, because I am normally a solo player. Depending on the game.
It's almost like
and I was like,
backseating, isn't it?
Like it's forcing you to have friends. I was like, how dare you? I want to play this on my own. And at least, I mean, I'm not the best gamer, and don't let that put you off if you want to find me on Twitch. It's not about that. But I had a lot of people saying, "Oh, do you want me to hop in because this bit's really difficult on your own?" I'm like, as a first-time player, that the beginning at least should have been a little bit easier, so you could get on, and it should have built it up into something harder. But I felt like it was like straight in. So
yeah,
for that reason, I can't give it S. But then, yeah, the aesthetic of it was gorgeous.
Yeah,
absolutely gorgeous.
And
the
tier lists.
The controls and everything. I want to be fair because I don't want people to think I'm hating on a game just because of where I put it. I'm going by my own personal experience. I think I'm going to go with B.
Mm-hmm. B for bloody decent.
Bloody decent Bloodborne.
Bloody
Bloodborne. Yeah.
I have a similar feeling and response to the Souls games. Like I want to love them. In fact, Bloodborne, like I think you kind of related to it as well. It's like because it's like the gothic one. It's like that's like my dreams, you know.
Perfect. Yeah.
And like again, we've seen with Elden Ring, like that's the RPG one. I'm like, like the high fantasy RPG one. I'm like, that's my other dream. I want to love these two games, but I just I'm so bad at Souls games.
They're so heckin' hard. And again, you have to have. I wouldn't say that you just have to have a certain level of patience with games that I'm not willing to commit to. And props to anyone that plays them.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for all the good scrubs comments from us both. 4 is both. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I won't.
No.
Refuse to. That goes against my whole niche.
No. Love the scrubs.
No. Will not get good. Yeah, I'm not hating on the game, and I admire anyone that can complete Souls games. Like I really do, but it just tests my patience too much.
Yeah. Okay, we got Condemned Criminal Origins.
Oh, classic! A classic game. It's quite quirky. I remember this was quite a long time ago. Bear in mind when I played this, but I remember it having almost comedic, or what I thought were comedic elements to it. But it kind of, some of it didn't make sense to me, but it was fun, and really there was some real spooky stuff. If you're not into like mannequins and stuff, then definitely don't recommend. But I think it was probably one of my first sort of proper jump scares was playing that actually, and it was mannequins that just appear for no reason, no explanation. But yeah, overall decent. Probably the graphics. I mean, again, I haven't played it for so long, but I would imagine they're pretty decent still. Yeah. Whether it's, I don't think it's had a remaster, has it?
I don't think so. No.
Don't think so. So obviously go into that with a bit of caution that it might not look as good as modern day games, but it was a solid horror back in the day. I think.
I never did play it. I missed it, and then it was always like, I'll play it one day, and then that day's not come yet.
Just never get to it. That's it. But I mean, it's never too late. No. Never too late. You do the retros. I guess this is kind of in the
nowadays.
Yeah. I don't know what the rule is on retro. I feel like it's sort of 15, 20 years, and it sort of then gets bumped into the retro category. But it was a solid horror. It was interesting. I would probably put that in B as well. Okay. I'm not like I feel like that might be a bit too generous. Maybe C. C for Condemned.
C for Condemned.
Yeah. I wouldn't rush to play it again.
No.
But I didn't hate it.
And then we got Days Gone.
Oh, Days Gone is excellent. If you're a massive fan of like zombie apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic zombie horror survival, I thought it was great. I kept saying it's a less emotional Last of Us.
Okay, yeah.
Because we'll get onto that, but it's sort of similar kind of idea in the fact that you're playing a person and you're trying to look for something or someone. I don't want to give it away again. I feel like it's an older game, but I don't want to give spoilers. But I will say you've got to have a lot of time for it because it's a big game.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's a big game. My only thing, and I was literally moaning about this the other day, is some of the cutscenes go on a bit like, again, I start button bashing, so I'm like, come on, I want to play. And be prepared to use a motorbike a lot. Yeah. You'll be thankful that you have it, but I really liked it. I very much enjoyed my playthrough. And it's got a really rewarding ending, actually. So I would put that in A.
A tier.
I would say S, but
Our first A tier.
yeah,
Nice.
S is probably a bit too far because there are a few things that annoyed me. But again, the voice acting is really good as well. Much like those kind of games, it can get a bit repetitive, but yeah, I thought it was a good game. Personally, I would definitely recommend.
So we've got Dead by Daylight. I wonder
Awful.
what this is.
Hate it. I know we haven't got a no opinion, but no.
We have got Graveyard, no opinion.
No opinion. I think a lot of people know that I adore Dead by Daylight. But it's an online it's an online multiplayer game, so you have to bear in mind that you cannot control the entire internet world. So you're going to get bad experiences, but I like the idea. It's very basic.
Yeah.
Super basic, in fact. But I kind of like it. The graphics are brilliant on it as well. I mean, it's 8 years old now.
Yeah, God.
And it's had a lot of updates and whatnot, but the graphics are great. They've got some really good franchises involved now. Not just all horror related. We've just had Lara Croft recently drop in. D&D, Iron Maiden, Slipknot. Like, it's quite eclectic.
Yeah.
With the franchise side.
We'll get the Fall Guys in at some point.
Yeah, probably.
Put these big beans on hooks. You know?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'd love that.
Woo.
I'd love that.
I think it's great.
It is a horror game, but it's quite standalone from everything else that we're looking at today.
Yeah,
because I mean, you can play it on your own. I play it on my own a lot, to be honest.
This is horror.
But it's what the kids call sweaty. It can get a bit sweaty. Yeah. You've just got to bear in mind that it is an online game. You can protect yourself from online by going anonymous and not having the end game chat, and do that if you don't want to deal with other human beings. But I'm still putting it in S because it has kept me sane for a very long time, and I've made some really good friends over there as well. Like, it's not all bad, you know, and it's brought a lot of my friendships together, other streamers and such. 100%. Yeah,
and
it's a good laugh.
I don't know when this is going to come out, but we'll have the Twitch Olympics soon. I think it will.
Yes.
I think the Twitch Olympics would have been done, or it's definitely in motion by the time this comes out.
I've definitely won.
Definitely won. You've won.
I won. Yeah, we won.
Spicy.
Spoiler alert.
Spicy. All right, we got a Dead Island.
Dead Island's brilliant. Oh, the memories. Oh, early streamer Sue played Dead Island with. I played Dead Island with a good friend of mine, because she'd bought it for me on PS3 and I never played it.
Right.
Never got round to it. And then it became available. I think I was still streaming off my PS4. But anyway, yeah, and we started playing that together, and it's brilliant. A really, really good game. It's a bit glitchy, but I kind of love that. Yeah. I got stuck in a tree. And we couldn't get me to not be stuck in a tree. Literally, my friend had to set me on fire and kill me for me to respawn. I don't know what it'd be like solo. I feel like it probably wouldn't be as fun.
I'm just
solo.
hoping someone listens to this podcast and doesn't know anything about video games and just hears those sentences like, what, out of context?
I had to get my friend to set me on fire.
I was stuck in a tree. They set me on fire, and I respawned. What?
Yeah, you know, standard horror game talk. It's a bit older. I have actually started replaying it recently with another friend off stream, and now that I've played the sequel, which is not on here, not on this list, sadly, it's the sequel is just premium in comparison, but it is good fun, and you get to drive. You don't get to do that in the second one. No driving at all. No. I'm gonna put it in A. I don't know if it's just because of the nostalgia and the memories that come with it, but it's fun. If you like zombie games where you have to do almost sometimes ridiculous tasks for ridiculous human beings, then yeah, whilst maiming and killing zombies.
So Dead Island 2, would you put into S then? Would you think?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a lot prettier, you know. It's a lot easier on the eye. The management system is a lot easier. Just the whole thing just seems a bit smoother.
Okay. I've played the first one, not the second.
But yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, the second one is something. for sure.
We've got Dead Space now. Now we haven't got Dead Space 2 or 3.
Okay.
And we haven't got necessarily the remake, so you can talk about this just as the first / remake, whatever you.
I'm happy to go with the original because I haven't long finished. I went through the whole series, and I played the original and the remake. And the remake is literally like a polished version of the original. It's very pretty, and I think there's a few little bits that they've changed, but honestly, like I remember when I first played it, I was quite wowed. If you like sci-fi horror, it's a good game. It has a slight sort of tedious factor because you are doing everything. We actually nicknamed it Space Bitch at one point
Yes.
because every time you've done a task, they're like, "Oh, now you've done that. Here's another task." And you're like, I just want a minute. Can you just completely do everything?
I can't do it because I'm stuck.
Yeah, I'm just going to watch you do everything.
Yeah,
so
it literally is on the fucking
yeah.
CCTV at one point.
Yeah.
There's a clip
I
me
think there's a bit where
playing
a glass panel just standing there watching you. It's like, cool.
I've got a good clip of that. Me go, what the yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but it is really good. Voice acting's really good in it. Weirdly, the story is kind of oddly believable as well. I feel like that a possibility of something like that could happen.
Yeah. Same as the second one in that respect, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm currently playing the third one, so I don't really know what's going on in it. I do, but like I feel like it's a very different game. So yeah, I think I personally would say if you're going to play the series, don't play the remake first. Play the original first, and then the remake will just be even more sparkly and magical. But I'm going to put that in S.
I agree.
I think it's a fantastic game.
If we're doing horror game tier lists, I think Dead Space deserves S tier completely. I loved Dead Space. I loved it far more than I anticipated. Because I didn't the Xbox 360 horrors like Condemned and Dead Space. I never did play them, and I just kind of was like, I played them one day, and then never did until I played Dead Space on stream for the first time 2 years ago, and I was like, this game is not going to be as good as I probably expected it to be. It blew my mind. And again, for a game that came out like 15, 16 years ago.
Oh yeah, it's aged very well. I think
was fucking terrifying. I was shitting my pants playing Dead Space. And for a game that came out so long ago, oh wow.
I feel like that's a really good sign of a horror game is that it doesn't matter how old it is, it still has that anxiety. It gives you in a good way. It gives you a really good anxiety if there is such a thing.
Games I've ever played, and playing it in 22, still having that feeling of like when I think, if you've asked me what the scariest games I've ever played is, it's on there. It's on that list.
Yeah,
big time.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Terrifying.
And my favourite feature, which I wish more games had, is that if you get stuck, you press your little toggle and it tells you where you need to go. And I loved that because there's so many times where you get chucked into a horror game and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. And it's like, oh, well, good luck.
Yeah.
So it was nice that it had that to rely on. It didn't take the fear away. But yeah, I'm with you. Like the atmosphere is so good.
Yeah.
So good. That's got to be S.
Yeah. I'm like, I was going to ask you about the others, but let's not because we have so many other games to talk about.
I know.
So we've got Doki Doki Literature Club.
Wow. Well, that was a treat. I somehow managed to go into this completely blind, despite it having such a cult following.
Yeah.
And I think you were around for quite a bit of my playthrough on it.
I was, yeah. And
you just kept saying, it's just a dating sim game. And I was like,
I don't believe you.
Yeah, I was like, but it's in the horror section on Steam. I'm not sure I believe that. I weirdly enjoyed it. I feel like I probably shouldn't have enjoyed it as much as I did. And again, is it spoilers? Are we beyond spoilers at this point?
Should we try and put like a little warning here? I don't know.
Maybe.
I think you can't talk about. I think it's one of those games.
It's hard to talk about it without ruining it.
Yeah, it is.
But what a twist!
Yeah.
What so many twists because it really does present itself as kind of this sort of cheesy, very cringy sort of anime. Dating sim. Yeah. And it absolutely isn't that at all.
Yeah.
It's just it's very clever. With the way it interacts with your PC, I thought was fantastic. it's not scary, but it's uncomfortable, and I feel like that falls into horror for me.
It's moments,
It gives you there is actually a couple of jump scares in it, thinking about it, but it gives you like there's a lot of jaw-dropping moments, or there was for me, where I was like, whoa, did not see that coming.
Did you replay it, or did you just play one playthrough?
No, I've only played one playthrough because
again, if you play it again, there's different jump scares, there's different things that happen, and it's like,
which is it's brilliant, and it's free. It's free as well,
right? Yeah,
so you can play it a few times. My only warning is that song will be stuck in your head. Like I can hear it now. Now we're talking about it. It's there again.
It's in
my
head as well. Yeah.
Damn it. Yeah, I'm probably gonna I'm shocked at myself. I'm gonna probably put that in A.
Yeah.
Because it was just so unique.
Yeah.
I know they've now done something similar, but for me that was very like, oh, okay.
I think that's where I'd put it. I'm leaning personally on a personal level towards S, but I don't know if I can quite put it under there, because even though it's part of the plot and the game, it takes a while for things to kick off. A bit
it's
like
a very a slow burner. Yeah.
In a weird way. Yeah. It's like Alien Isolation in that respect. Like, but when when the doors blow off, they fucking go off.
It really does, doesn't it? It's just unbelievable. Also, just on a personal note, I'm not massively into anime, and some of it did give me a bit of the ick, because I don't,
And that's why I loved it so much, for that reason, again, because
it's good because it's all cutesy, really. And
like, why I was again, you turned the first half of the game going, why am I still playing this? What I need to quit this. I don't, but I want to continue. I've got to keep patient.
I feel like that's the thing as well. My patience is pretty slim when it comes to certain games, but that did leave me wanting to know what was happening, what was going to happen, enough to play it all.
It is,
and I haven't deleted it. It's still sitting in my library, so. Yeah, I would put it in A. Definitely, it's definitely not a child's game.
Weird recommendation for me, by the way, guys. If anyone watching this and interested in Doki Doki, I personally would recommend you don't get the Doki Doki Literature Club Plus version, or get it to support the developer, by the way. Do that, by all means. But the actual additional content, I don't think helps when it comes to how good the original plot is, because that's what makes the game what it is, whereas the additional plot detail on the DLC... it's nice, but it doesn't add to the horror. So if you're going on this from a horror perspective, then it doesn't add.
Interesting, because I did. Yeah, I got it. I got it recently, but I wasn't really sure what it was. I think it was free on Epic at one point, so I was like, well, I'll have that.
If you invest in the characters, then it's worth it, because it is nice to kind of see where things kind of go, or what their personalities are like, kind of beyond the realms of the original story, which is nice. But from a horror perspective, it adds nothing to it.
Not the one. Okay, good to know that. But yeah, it's a cool game. Very cool.
Dying Light.
Oh, Dying Light. Well, I'm currently playing the second one. I really like Dying Light. Again, it's another zombie. It's another zombie. I wouldn't say shooter, because it's absolutely not a shooter. There's no shooting option, but you're bludgeoning zombies and doing parkour. I feel like that's enough in itself. Like, what more do you want? It's if you've ever played like a game like the Spider-Man games and stuff, and you have the fun of swinging through the city. It's very similar in that aspect of jumping from building to building, and it's almost puzzle. It's almost like a puzzle, because sometimes you'll have to get to a building and there's no obvious way in. So you have to sort of work out where you're climbing to. There's a whole stamina factor as well, so you might fall mid-climb. It's a good game. I feel like it was a little obvious what was going on and what was going to happen.
Okay.
Was the only sad thing. But I feel like that with all sort of zombie apocalyptic kind of, there's not much that can go with it, but it is cool. If you're into killing zombies, it was quite unique. I'd give it a solid A, I would say. And just on a personal note, I'm actually preferring the second one personally.
Right. There we go. I've not played them.
Yeah, they're quite big games again, quite grindy.
So we got FNAF 1 and 3 here. Don't ask me why it's only 1 and 3, but 5 for nights, I think.
Weird. I think maybe just because you get the gist. You get the gist with 1 and 3. I actually haven't played the second one. Funnily enough, I played these, I think, for one of our first Nightbreed charity events, if I remember rightly.
Okay. Yeah.
Many moons ago. Um, it's got such a fan base. I feel like I need to like hide under my desk when I say this, but I personally didn't really rate the first one.
Yeah.
There's you get so used to the jump scares in it; they're kind of predictable. The noises are the same. The lore behind it, however, amazing. Obviously, we've got like two different movies now. We've got one unofficial and one official movie based off it. So the lore's really cool. There's a lot of sort of fan-made movies on YouTube that I do recommend. But I didn't like it. I like walking horror. I like to be able to move about, and that you can't. You don't. So
Yeah.
I don't want to do this. But I think it's going in D.
Oh, wow. She went there.
I did. I like the lore. The concept is fantastic. It's just the actual game itself. It didn't feel like a game,
Sure.
Sort of felt a bit sort of, okay,
And then
look at that. Look over here. Third one I found a little bit more interesting just because it's different setting, and that might have been what it was for me. And this isn't a spoiler at this point. I feel like these games they're big, right? Everyone knows about them. But the third one, you're a kid and you're in your bedroom, and I don't know if it's just because I found it relatable from when I was little. I didn't have killer teddy bears in my house, but that fear from a kid's perspective of being in your room and thinking something else is in there looking at you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it freaked me out. But again, the concept's the same jump scares, same noises, yada yada. But I enjoyed it a tad more than the original. So for that, I'd probably C for the third one.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Please don't come for me.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Haunting Ground.
Oh, I wanted to love this so much. I feel like I should have played it on release. It was recommended to me. I think it was from a Silent Hill fan group.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Or it might be a Resi one. It's kind of a mixture of the both, really. It's kind of got aspects of Silent Hill and Resident Evil in it. But unfortunately, I played it literally a couple of years ago on the PS2, and it was just too tanky for me. I struggled hard with it. But if you're okay with tank controls, and I mean they're really tanky, it's pretty cool. It's interesting. It also, because it's an older game, there's some shots in it that I was like, okay. Again, you play Resident Evil, you know what I mean? There's camera angles that were maybe a little unnecessary.
Yeah.
But you do get a cute doggo that is your best buddy, and so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Definitely got a cult following. I didn't hate it. It's just that I personally struggled to play it. So I put it in B because I feel like the reason I didn't enjoy it is my own problem.
I've not played it,
but yeah,
and it's been on my list for a while for similar reasons, like you said. Resident Evil fans,
yeah,
Hill fans.
I feel like I feel like it would be ideal for you. It's got some of the cheesy dialogue from the 90s that we all kind of enjoy, and the story is quite interesting as well. But yeah, I did struggle with some of the controls in it. There's a lot going on, but yeah, it's a good game. It is a good game. That's my fault. Should have played it earlier.
We got Hello Neighbor.
Hello Neighbor. What's all this
Neighbor.
then? Oh God, I wanted to love it. I wanted to love it. A bit like FNAF in the fact that you get to move about and you've got to collect things, and then shockingly, someone chases you. It just felt like it was missing quite a lot. I don't know if maybe I didn't get the point of it, but for me, it felt like a grind. I wasn't enjoying it after a good 30 minutes. I was like, okay, is this the whole game? To which I was like told yes, pretty much, and I was like, nah.
Yeah.
Again, it might have really good lore behind it, but nothing that I know of. But yeah, they've made 2 or 3 of them now.
Yeah, I've heard that only the first one is even barely worth playing, really, because like you said, once the initial kind of hit happens, there's not much beyond it. It's kind of lacking substance almost, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was popular again, not trying to be ageist, but amongst the younger audience.
Yes.
And again, I think it just resonates with that somewhat. You got weird neighbours, and you kind of almost intrigued by them, and that not some of them are not nice. And
Yeah.
I think that type of concept.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, we've talked about DBD. I don't mind a game where you get chased, but at least in DBD, with the right perks, you can defend yourself. With this, it is you've just got to run and hide.
Yeah.
And it just gets a little tedious after a while. I didn't feel like there was much to it. Not a lot of substance. So I'm going to be kind, and I'm going to put it in D.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And dumb, definitely it is. It is a bit dumb.
It's a bit dumb.
It's a bit dumb.
We got House of the Dead.
House of the Dead. I mean, it's a classic. It's a classic zombie shooter, isn't it? I used to really like those games, like the whole series, pretty much. I haven't played it. I haven't played it in so long. I couldn't tell you how well it's aged. I imagine it's probably horrible. I think I've played a couple of them like at arcades.
Yeah.
But for nostalgic value and a laugh with your mates, it's a good game. You know, if you were ever into like that or Time Crisis or any of those sort of shooty games, you know, they are what they are. Not something I would play often because there's no, like you said with the other games, there's no substance to it. It is just shoot things or don't shoot things if they're civilians, and that's kind of it, really. But for nostalgia, I can't hate on it too much.
Yeah.
Probably C for the nostalgic side, but D if we're going by like the point of the game or the story.
Yeah. Have you played House of the Dead or heard of House of the Dead Overkill?
I own it and I haven't played it, and I've owned it for 10 plus years.
I think you might like House of the Dead Overkill or Typing of the Dead Overkill because you can either type it or you can shoot it. You know, you can use your mouse, You can use your mouse to shoot, or you can type words instead to kill zombies.
Oh,
so if you're a fast typer, you got words that come up and scream, and they're stupid words. Okay, House of the Dead Overkill is basically the House of the Dead concept combined with 1970s grindhouse movies.
Oh, that sounds quite cool.
It's incredible. And again, it's intense. So because by this point, the people that made the House of Dead games knew their games were really cheesy, and so they played on that cheese on purpose.
Oh no, that's own it. If you're going to own it, that's fair.
Honestly,
I think that's
you
valid.
will love it. The game's story, and again, we talk about the story being quite, and I agree, but the story for House of the Dead Overkill is so over the top and stupid. I don't want to spoil it. I love House of the Dead Overkill. It's one of my favorite. Like,
I might have to add it to the list. I don't think it's out of the wrap. Like, me and my partner had this thing of just grabbing things when they're on sale and thinking, oh, we might like that. And I think that was one of the ones that never got opened. But
on, like, Steam for like £8 or something.
Probably,
honestly, it's so good. And because I know you love your 1970s, like
I do like
movies.
Yeah.
It's I definitely recommend it. Yeah.
And three is good just because you can say 3 really weirdly, like they do.
Yeah.
House of the Dead 3. Amazing. Yeah.
So we got I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream.
Well, I'm actually currently playing this, so I've probably not even scratched the surface with it. I really like this. It's very old school. Think like maybe even older than sort of Broken Sword. Like, we're going way back when I was a kid, we had a game called Granny's Garden, I think it was, and you have to kind of... It's similar to Granny's Garden, but also Broken Sword. If you've ever played the Broken Sword games, they're kind of a bit like... They're point and clicks, but the weirdest things are normally the right answer in the game. Yeah. And it's very much like that. You're clicking on everything. You're like... And it gives you options like, I don't know, like drink this, eat this, touch this, you know, and you just have to do that throughout the game. I don't know much about it. I know it was based on a book, which I also don't know a lot about, but I'm really enjoying it. It's very, you know, it's old graphics, but it doesn't look dated. It looks intended that way. And so far a really interesting story. Very quirky.
I don't want to spoil it for you. But it's a very interesting story, very dark.
Yes, darker than it is.
Miserable.
Comes across. Because it doesn't come across that way. It's not packaged that way, but I have been told that it is quite a dark game. I probably would put that in. It's hard to give it a full rating because I haven't finished it.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to go with D now. That could well change if I've completed it. I'll message you when I complete it and tell you.
Yes,
Just let you know. But it's cool if you like a point and click game where you've got to use your noggin, and you like old graphics. It is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, weird, very weird.
Layers of Fear next.
Oh God, I love Layers of Fear. Layers of Fear, it's beautiful. It is. I think a lot of people say it's a masterpiece, which is kind of a joke, an in-game joke, calling it a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. I played that on. I think it was on release because I don't think it was overly expensive at the time. It's not the longest game. Again, it's a bit dark. You sort of start off thinking one thing and it's not what you think. The only thing that took away from it, but I kind of loved it at the same time, was that there's not actually real fear of death.
No.
There's no repercussions from getting it wrong.
No, it's a walking simulator, basically.
It's a walking, but it's a good walking simulator.
I agree.
Yeah,
I'm not saying
it's
that
not
in a
boring.
negative way. I know a lot of people go, walking. I'm not saying that. I like walking sims sometimes.
I do, yeah.
So, yeah.
And just in that category, I'd say that's sort of one of the peak. Voice acting. I really am funny about voice acting in game because you can get some really atrocious ones, especially now with AI as well. Oh, anyway. But I thought it was convincing. The convincing acting. The story was unique, and the DLC was really good. I really enjoyed that actually. Enough, yeah. I just didn't want it to end, so I was like, no, I need more. Yeah, I'm S tier for that because I've played that several times. The sequel is a whole separate game. Just for anyone that's thinking of getting the sequel, it's nothing to do with the first. Just look at it as an individual horror game that isn't quite as good.
Yeah, I've heard the second one is.
It's not bad, it's not badly made, but it's so different. And I just, nothing can touch the original, in my opinion. But I loved it. Yeah, thought it was great.
I enjoyed it. I think a Bloober team get a big negative rap nowadays, but you know what? As far as I'm concerned, Laser is great.
Yeah, they do, but no one seems to say anything bad about that. In fact, I feel like Laser Fear is like the thing that they did right, and everyone seems to agree on that. So I thought it was fantastic.
We got Left 4 Dead.
I don't want to say because I feel like you're going to stop being my friend, Johnny. But I don't really like the Left 4 Dead series.
Oh.
Only because I was quite late going into. Shall I just leave? Do you want me to go?
This has actually really broken my heart.
I don't. Right, as a multiplayer game, good fun. And I feel like maybe I should give is it campaign? Is that what you call it for? Or like story mode? I feel like I should give it a go. But I think I came into it so late and I played so many games that were based on it or that ideas had been taken from it.
Yeah.
I found it a bit clunky.
Okay, yeah.
But I don't know much about it to really comment. So, okay, I was very harsh there. I don't hate it. I just was like, I've played better games with the same sort of concept.
Yeah.
I haven't really given it much time. That being said, though, I did really enjoy playing with you guys when we all played it. I had no idea what was going on half the time, and I just getting told to run a whole bunch.
Yeah. Just, shout out to our friend,
is most.
Shout out to our friend Double Gore. She played it for the first time
yes.
this week, and I kind of get the impression she probably would say something similar.
Yeah. But because she went into it blind too. I feel like if I'd done a bit of research or maybe even played a little bit on my own just to get the idea of it.
Yeah.
Or like the controls. Like I struggled climbing up a building. Like everyone was well ahead of me and I was like, where are you guys? And they're like, we're over here. And I'm like, I can't get up the ladder. You know I really struggled with the controls.
Would you and I have talked about we don't collab enough, right? And I'm sorry you're doing this with me, by the way. Okay. Shall you and I do a stream playing Left 4 Dead, just me and you, no one else, me and you, and we play campaign together. Because then we'll have two AIs with me and you, and we can play it together.
Yeah, I'd be up for that.
I think that'd be quite different.
And then my opinion may be changed on the game, and we can all sleep better at night.
Yeah, I can see people like again shout outs like ASG go, "Oh, I want to play," and then maybe we might let ASG play.
He can carry us a little bit.
But I get what you're saying though. But again, because you were late to it, I get that.
I was very late to the party on it. I hadn't genuinely like, and this will probably pain you more, but like I didn't even know who Bill was until I started playing Dead by Daylight. And someone said, "Oh, yeah, he's a character out," and I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes more sense, I suppose." Yeah. Who, you know? But there's so many other games like it now.
Yeah,
that's the problem. That I prefer. I think World War Z. I want to say World War Z. Is that what it's called? It's so similar, and I preferred it. So yeah. I'm gonna be kind though and put it in C because I don't want us to fall out, and also because I haven't given it a full chance. You know, I went into it late in the game, and I don't know any of the story. Yeah. So
I can't say the story is necessarily great.
No, okay.
It's not really for its story. It's more about again the AI of the infected is what makes it what it is.
Yeah,
and it's a great multiplayer game.
But yeah, definitely good fun with friends. And I feel like not all horrors are solo games that you have to sit under your blanket playing. Like you can have fun and play horror. So yeah I'm not going to be completely harsh because it entertains. Yeah. So I'm going to say C.
Okay. Yep, that's fine.
All right. I'm really glad that we're still friends, Johnny.
Just about.
That was tough. Okay. That was tough.
Let's talk about something else quickly.
Quick.
Little Nightmares.
Oh, I love Little Nightmares. Straight away, A. 100% A.
A. Yeah.
A. There's no question. Everything about that game is fantastic, in my opinion. Story is good. It's got twists. It's not what you think. It's got the whole, I don't know, would you class it as a platformer, like 3D platformer? I guess. It's
kind of a puzzle platformer, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got everything. It's not a jump scary game. There are elements, there are times,
because it's very similar in concept to like Limbo and Inside, but speaking of, are not on this list.
They're not on this list, and they're both brilliant games.
Terrible that they're not.
Especially Inside, I really liked.
So I took that concept and took it. I'd say dare I say taking it further. Yeah, a
little bit further. Yeah, it's almost got side scrolling elements. There's chase scenes. There's stealth, a little bit of stealth in it. Puzzles. It's got everything, but the story is what really gripped me with that game because again, I went in blind, had no idea what the story is about. Thought it was one thing. It isn't. It isn't one thing. It's something completely different. It really did leave me, mouth open, like, oh. And it's not in there, but I feel like the second one should be in there. I think the second one's on par.
I've not played Little Nightmares. Would you believe? Again, I might need to play for Scaretober, maybe. Well overdue. What I've seen, I really like, and obviously Punches who loves it as well. So I do need to.
I've played the first one. I think I've played 3 times, and the second one twice, and that's not where that ends. I probably will go back to them at some point. And they're packaged in such a cute little animation. They're so cute. Yeah. It's not a cute game, but it is cute looking.
All right, we got
top.
Lucius now. Tell me about Lucius. I don't know much about it.
I really liked it. I feel like it got a lot of hate. And I don't know why. I don't know if there's some sort of dark undertones or a dev story we don't need to be talking about, or I don't know. I personally really enjoyed it. It gave me the kind of similar vibes that you'd get from Bully, if you ever played Bully, or Canis Edit, whatever it got renamed. That kind of vibe, you're not a nice person. You're doing horrible things. You're doing it's based on The Omen. I don't know what to tell you. Based on, you're Damien essentially, and you've got to get rid of your family. And you have to do it in really, really gross and elaborate ways. So it's fun. It's not the most gripping story, but I mean, you could say that about The Omen. To be fair, it is what it is. But I personally really enjoyed it. I did play the second one and didn't think it was quite as good, but I would give it a go. It's a bit janky as well because it's a bit of an older game, but I give that a solid B.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like I'm probably going to lose friends here. I'll be like, you are so wrong. It's just an opinion.
Just yeah. We're all
Yeah,
allowed them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mine are always terrible. Is all.
We got Medieval, the original,
Oh,
the
Medic,
PS1.
come on, classic game, isn't it? If you can, any game where you can throw like bones at people, or throw your own skull, I think, if I
Yeah.
remember rightly, you can't go wrong. It's a cute game, you know. Early PS games, it's more of a sentimental thing for me, and I know that the remake's meant to be amazing. I haven't seen anything of the remake, but I really enjoyed it. You know, there wasn't it's horror adjacent. It's not scary. It's cute. It's a cute horror. You know, if you're gonna call it anything. But again, if you like your older games, from what I remember, I think the voice acting was pretty decent in it as well, like in the soundtrack. But yeah, I liked it. It's got a little special place in my heart, I think.
Yeah.
It's really hard to like rate older games because I think everyone expects graphics to be stunning and amazing, and obviously I think that was PS1, wasn't
PS1.
it?
Yeah.
That was the OG. So it probably looks. I'm going to go with what I remember when I was younger playing it, what it looked like to me then.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I'd put it in C.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, it was again. I guess you'd class it as a platformer, not really, but it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's a fun game.
Yeah. We've got Murder House now.
If you're a fan of analog horror, which I am, weirdly, I've just talked about graphics. This is purposely made to look like a PS1 game, but it isn't. It's a modern game, but I genuinely really enjoyed it. The story I don't want to spoil it because I don't know, you might play it one day.
Yeah, I've not. Have I played Murder House? I've not played it. I might have watched it. I can't remember.
The beginning.
Yes, I've played.
I
have played it. It's they go into. It's the classic '80s trope, isn't it? They all go into
Yeah,
the house
yeah.
and they all
The haunted house to film. Yeah, but it's got like the whole foreshadowing at the beginning, which I thought was really cool. Like, which was almost like a little mini separate game at the beginning, like you're a kid in a mall.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, and and it actually turns out that you're one of the victims at the beginning, and I thought that was really interesting that it sort of gives that sort of foreshadowing.
Yeah. I enjoyed Murder House.
Yeah. I really liked it. The dialogue's purposely cringe as well.
Yes, it is.
Like, it's brilliant. And I don't know, there's something about purposely made analog horrors that are almost uncomfortable. Like, I don't know what it is. They make me, in a good way, not in a bad way, you know? They feel scarier for some reason. I'd put that in B.
Yep.
I don't know if I'd replay it, is the only thing.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel like once you played it, it's kind of like, okay, I get the gist.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good game. I like analog horror. If you like it, give it a go.
I've not played this one. This is Narcosis.
Narcosis is really. I don't know if it's an overly large game, and I don't know a lot about it. But I remember playing it not that long ago, and doing my sci-fi horror stuff. It's a good game. I thought it was really good. Maybe a tad predictable at times, but again, I'm a big fan of like audio, and it had really good like atmospherics in it. Again, with the voice acting being decent, because you know that's important for me. It's very important, and the overall story was really good. It's very. I know we're going to get to it in a little while, but it's very doom and gloom. It's kind of got like Soma elements to it in a sense.
Yeah.
It's a decent game, and actually it's not that small. I think it probably took. Well, actually, going by the time I play games, it's probably not worth saying actually because I take forever. But it wasn't like a one stream wonder, you know. It went on for a little while. Not really jumpy. If you're looking for jump scares, that ain't it. It's more like slow burn, creepy atmosphere. It's more the panic of if you're going to survive, I think. Okay. I'd get A. Yeah. No, I'm going to give it A. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
Because I was very surprised by it. Pleasantly surprised.
All right. We got Outlast.
Oh, S. End of.
Yeah.
Next. No, Outlast. Oh.
Yeah. I agree.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. There's nothing like it. I know people say yes, there is, but there's nothing that had that same effect of the original Outlast for me. It's very dark, and I don't mean that just story wise. Like, it is literally
Very
pitch
dark,
black at
literally,
times. Like, you can't always see. I remember, I think I streamed this in my first year of streaming, and I remember waking up on the day that I'd play that with almost like that feeling you get when it's Christmas and you're a kid, but also a little bit nervous because of the way the game, because you get sucked into the story so well that you actually forget you're probably going to get chased by something very shortly. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's a good stepping stone into, or maybe not a good stepping stone into horror. I feel like you'll know if you do or don't like horror by playing Outlast.
Yeah, it's definitely a boundary-setting horror game.
Yes,
isn't it? Like, and I mean that in multiple ways. And in
many,
it's a litmus test, I think, for your level of horror.
Yeah, because it covers so many different aspects of horror, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's got the whole body horror thing, the anxiety, even a bit of claustrophobia in there, like everything.
Yeah.
And the story's good. And the story's quite messed up as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's just everything.
Especially
yeah,
the
S,
second one, which
hands
we'll get
down.
to in a minute.
Yes.
Yeah. I think Outlast, I mean, for me, Outlast is the game that gave, like, horror a good shot of adrenaline in the arm, really, that needed. Because up until Outlast, in my opinion, horror was almost a fading genre. It was just going through a bit of a lull. There was not a lot
felt very
going
much
on.
like it's split off into walking sims or shooters. There weren't much in between, and this kind of
and it blew the doors open for indie horror as well, alongside like Amnesia as well. You know, it really did, like, that. Indie horrors just became so much. It turned a corner. It turned a corner for the genre.
I think so, and it doesn't fit. I don't mean this in a horrible way. It didn't feel indie.
No,
it felt AAA.
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy to think of it as an indie game, but it is.
Yeah. It was so well loved and so well cared for when they made it. You could tell they really wanted to have a lasting effect on people.
Fucking terrifying game.
It is absolutely terrifying. So much so that they've now made like a multiplayer game out of it, which, you know, is awesome. The DLC as well, which isn't
one of the
mentioned
best
in this,
DLCs ever made.
Absolutely, it kept the same elements of fear throughout the game into the DLC.
Better than the original, would you believe? Which is great, but like, the DLC is possibly the best Outlast game.
I agree. No, I agree. My only. It's not even a dig at the game, but if you're not into like certain body parts, like, just maybe steer clear, because it is a little bit graphically. I don't know what the word is. It's got a lot of parts in it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say this in the nicest way.
Speaking of bodily parts in an Outlast game, what about Outlast 2?
Oh God. Yeah. Well, again, if you're not into the human body and what it can do, then maybe don't play the second one as well.
Yeah.
The second one didn't have as much love.
No,
I went into it knowing that, and I was like, okay. I personally really enjoyed the second one.
I did. Yeah.
I just felt a little bit like the two separate stories, because there's two whole different elements to that game.
Yeah.
I felt like if they just stuck with one or the other, I get that it was essential for the story, but I feel like they could have portrayed that in a different way instead of splitting it off. And I always say, like, you've played the second one, right?
Yeah.
So there's a bit, the bits in the school, the flashbacks.
Yeah.
I actually think would have made a really solid game on its own. That for me, out of the whole story, those parts scared me more.
Yeah.
Because that had jump scares. It also had like I don't even know what the thing was. And I think it was all like metaphorical, which I thought was quite cool. Again, very dark content.
Yeah, very.
So you got to protect yourself. Don't play it if you're sensitive to certain subjects. But I not as good as the first, but not as bad as everyone made out to be.
Agreed. I don't think I disagree with anything you said. I completely agree with everything you said. I really enjoyed Outlast 2. A step down, I suppose, in terms of the overall experience, but still very solid, very controversial, and not for everyone. But a great game, very, very comfortable at times. I had a really good time.
I feel like maybe if the first one hadn't existed, the second one would have got a lot more love.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, how can you outdo Outlast? Like
Exactly.
they were trying to. It's kind of like the Terrifier movies. They're trying to outdo the previous one, or again horror movie slashers or whatever. In
Yeah,
general,
if
they're
you
always
make
trying
something
to one up.
iconic, how can you one up yourself?
Yeah, and that's why I feel
Honestly,
like
yeah,
Outlast tried to do. Red Barrel's tried to
100%.
outdo Outlast, and how can you do it? Make it
Yeah,
controversial, and yeah, that's gonna
but
divide
it
diverse
is,
opinion. Isn't it?
and the story is so messed
It
up.
is, yeah, yeah.
Um,
I really liked it. Yeah.
I liked it, and I like cults. So there you go. That's my spin on it. So I'm actually going to put both of them in a S tier
Wow.
because
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's a bit mean to put two underneath. I think it's just because you know what kind of format it's going to be after playing the first one.
Okay. Yeah.
But the story's good.
I would put
It's a
it in
solid
the A,
story.
but
Yeah,
I like that. I like that.
yeah.
All right. We've got Phasmophobia.
Bit of Faz, love a bit of
A bit of
Faz.
Phas, mate.
This is a tough one for me because it's not something that I would play a lot of. Although I have been known to like absolutely go into Goblin mode and sit and play it all day. But I was so desperate to get on the wagon because I was really late to getting a PC. Like
Right.
I didn't have a PC for years, and everyone else was playing it, and I was like, I really want to play it. So it was like one of my first PC games. And actually, I don't know if this is normal, but I quite like solo playing it.
Okay. Yeah, I feel people like
Maybe
it.
not
Yeah.
not the big maps, but I mean, like, yeah, it's a bit of a one-trick pony, you know. Like, same with any games, I suppose, like that. Say again, back to DBD. It's not. It doesn't change. The whole thing's good, but I don't know. There's something about it. It's kind of weirdly charming.
Yeah.
I don't find it that scary. I think when it first came out, a lot of people found it quite scary, but I don't know. It's not because I'm desensitized to it. I just didn't really. It didn't cause as much panic as I thought it would.
Yeah.
But again, you're playing with friends. It's down to them to scare you. I think in those situations, you know, if you're giggling away with each other, you're not going to get that same like immersion that you do with like a solo horror game.
Yeah.
But it's a classic, and it's a good way of bringing friends together. It's a good way of scaring other people that have never played it. I'd probably put it in A.
Yep.
Yeah. A. It's decent. It's a bit buggy, but
Yeah. Yes.
I kind of love that. I kind of like that. You know, it's fun that you can look at your friend's eyeballs
Yeah.
or go through their skull.
Yeah,
I mean, who
yeah.
doesn't love that? Yeah, it's a good game. It's just you just can't play it continuously, I think, is the thing.
All right, we got
Yeah.
Pony Island.
Pony Island. Well, I kind of voiced my opinion to you on this
did,
already.
yeah, you did,
And I was like,
yeah.
the real horror is the amount of brain power you need to play this game. It's cursed. It's a cursed game. The concept's amazing. And I really wanted to be good at it. I really did. But my gosh,
Question
I
for you.
struggled.
Question for you. Did you play it after or before Doki?
I played it after.
Okay. Yeah. 'Cause it came
Yeah,
out
so I
before.
kind of, but it's the same sort of, again, I don't want to
Spoilers.
spoil it because I feel like some people might have.
Spoiler, sorry. Yeah.
It's the latching onto your computer that I really liked about that.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and the way it's packaged again, it's that like, oh look, it's cute and an innocent, weird game.
Yeah.
And it's not at all. It's brilliant and it's good for a point and click. But my brain, the real horror was the amount of brain power I needed to use it because them puzzles be puzzling.
Yeah.
But it is decent. It is decent. I can't be mean. I can't be mean about it. Just because I struggled with it, I'm gonna put it in C.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think it's something you'd play again. I don't know if it has
Yeah.
alternative.
No, I
I don't think it does. No.
No.
So Doki Doki, maybe you could replay it a few times, but I feel like Pony Island, you play it, then you're like, yeah, okay,
Yeah, it's one.
I get
one
it.
Done, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Poppy Playtime.
I loved Poppy Playtime. I absolutely adored it. I haven't played the newest chapter, so please no spoilers. But I thought it was brilliant. 80s kid, so I was like, this is my thing because it is sort of. I think it's set in the 80s, or it definitely led you to believe it was set in the 80s. It had that vibe to it, but it's also packaged in this cutesy, like colourful, bright, pleasing to the eyes kind of thing. But it's pretty dark, but also it's not just you're just getting chased.
Yeah.
I felt like the way it was advertised was made you think that you were constantly just being chased, but it isn't. There's an actual story to it, and there's puzzles. And and it kind of seems ridiculous that you're being like the first chapter, at least, you're being chased by this like cute thing called Huggy Wuggy. Sounds ridiculous. Genuinely quite scary, I found. It kind of it seemed to pick up from FNAF. It took the concept of FNAF and was like, right, yeah, that's great and stuff, but like, what if we make it like this, you know? And I really enjoyed it. I think, I don't know how many chapters there are now. If there's 4, I think.
I'm not sure. Three or four. Yeah, I'm not sure.
3 or 4. So I've played all but the last one. And I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun playing it. Probably wouldn't replay them all again. Or if I did, it would be like years and years later. But I thought it was a pretty decent game, to be honest. And I don't want to keep comparing it to FNAF because they're really not that similar, but it's just the way it's packaged, I suppose. But I think it was better. I definitely think it was better. I'll give that a B.
Yep.
Yeah. And the spin-off multiplayer game was really fun as well.
Yeah, it looked fun. Yeah.
Yeah. That is good fun. Oh, where do we start with PT? PT, you should have been the game that we all wanted you to be, and it didn't happen. So sad. So, fun fact about PT for me, big Silent Hill fan and all. I didn't have a PS4 when it came out.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I was frothing. I was like, I'm missing out, and I ended up having to watch playthrough on YouTube because I knew I wasn't going to get one. I think
same.
I can't remember when it came out, but I knew it would be like a couple of years before I got a PS4 because I was still living off PS3, you know, and happy to.
Yeah.
So I gave in and watched a playthrough, and I mean, you can't get the same feeling from watching someone else play it, but I kind of it still spooked me watching it. But the thing I can say with PT is it paved the way for so many good games.
Yep.
And I feel bad because had they released it fully and gone into a full game, one, we would have got another Silent Hill game, so yay. But also they could have been the pioneers of that style of game, and unfortunately it didn't happen. So I actually didn't play it till after all of the other games that had been inspired by it. So it didn't really hit the same.
We talk about Outlast being like again a corner change of direction with horror. I mean, PT then was another. You know, because I mean, I don't know where they were going with it because we never got the full game, but it was just a walking sim, wasn't it? Yeah.
Really? You didn't do anything?
It's arguably the best walking sim game ever made.
It's so creepy and so uncomfortable, and I don't think I even really understood what the story was about. I don't think they did because it was, you know, it's playable teaser. It's a teaser. It didn't give too much away. But I'm so thankful for it because of the games that came from it.
Yeah.
I just kind of wish I'd played that first instead of watching someone else. But I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, so do I give it S because there's so many games that I love that have spawned from it? I think that's fair.
I'm down for S. I think it.
Yeah, I think so because I think if that hadn't happened, I don't know if we would have got some of the other games.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We got Remothered.
I loved Remothered. I really liked Remothered. I know not everyone does. It was like it had the same vibes as Outlast. Like you're getting chased essentially quite a lot. It's very panicky. And same as Outlast, you can't defend yourself. You're hiding. You're getting in cupboards. You're climbing underneath things. I don't know if I liked it for the right reasons. Are you intending on playing it?
I've seen the first. Have I seen both? I've definitely seen a full playthrough the first one. Yeah.
The person or one of the people like near the earlier part of the game that chases you, it creased me up. I don't know if you're supposed to take it seriously or if it was supposed to be as funny as I found it. But essentially, he's an old man who's wearing nothing but a butcher's apron and boots. Yeah. That's it. And he turns around a lot, if you catch my drift, you know? Yes. So you just see this naked little old man bum. Yeah, he does catch so much drift. And some of the things he says, because I think it is an Italian game.
Yes.
So I don't know if it's a translation thing or just how they think that English people speak to each other, which honestly, I don't blame them. But some of the phrases that he came out with were so good, so funny. I'll be honest. When it ended, I was like, "Hang on, what happened?" But that happens a lot with me.
It is abrupt. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good game though. Just don't take it seriously. I think go into it with a bit lighthearted. But I enjoyed it. I've got some very fond memories of playing it. I'd probably put it in C because I don't plan on ever playing it again.
Yeah.
And I do have the second one, which I've heard is even worse.
Yeah, the second one's a buggy mess. Yeah.
But I love it. Sometimes I love a buggy mess, so we'll see. But yeah, again, don't ask me what was going on. But there is actually as well, quickly, there is another character in that I thought was fantastic and would be an excellent cosplay. I don't know what she was called in it, but she was terrifying. That did actually freak me out a little bit. So yeah, it's not the worst. I've definitely played worse, but yeah, interesting.
Okay, so we've decided here to talk about the more modern Resident Evil remakes, haven't we?
Yeah.
So we've got Resident Evil games coming up now. So you have played some of the older ones, but
I have, but I'm old, and it was a long time ago, and I can't quite remember how I felt about them back then.
So we'll talk about Resident Evil 2 remake first, then.
I was so excited when that came out. I played the little demo that was, you could play it for an hour, I think it was, or was it an hour or like 40 minutes or something?
I think it was
20 It was a timed,
minutes.
Was it? Yeah, it was a timed do as much as you physically can teaser, and I was sold. I knew I was getting it. I knew 100% I was getting it. The graphics was so good. I don't know if that was like sort of a turning point for games for me, like the way the graphics suddenly became so much more realistic, but seeing those characters, those pixelated characters that we know and love, suddenly sort of taking form into like proper people was just brilliant. And I don't think they really took anything from the story, from what I remember. They sort of stuck with it. Some of the same phrases and the same cheesiness. Absolutely fantastic game. Would recommend it. It's going in S. There's no two ways about it.
Agreed.
And that has got replayability because you've got different campaigns in it. So
yeah, I mean
which I know applies for nearly all Resi games anyway. But yeah, I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean obviously it's a huge Resident Evil fan. I can talk for days about this, but the only thing I would say is that the campaigns are not quite as different. Because you had 4 different campaigns in the original, whereas the second campaign in the remake were kind of just slightly different from the first campaign. Yeah. So it was kind of annoying, but the game itself was, I definitely think it's S tier. Yeah. Beautiful game.
Apart from the chess piece puzzle can get in the bin.
that was
stress.
That was a stressful puzzle.
Brilliant.
All
Loved it.
We've got Resident Evil 3.
Wow.
I'm just going to place these into B tier now because my list's got dropped down. But you crack on.
I think we all went into 3 thinking, well, if 2's anything to go by, and for the best part, graphically, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. But the price bracket it was in for the amount of gameplay that you got out of it was highly disappointing. I didn't hate it as much as some people. I know a lot of people really, really hated on it. And again, I can't quite remember if the original 3rd game was longer. I feel like that was the case. It had a bit more to it. But it did get a lot of hate. But yeah, I mean, for me, I completed it really quickly. I was like, oh, is there not more? And I was like, no, that's it. Done. You're done. But it was great seeing Carlos. I'm a bit of a Carlos fan. I don't, I mean, he's all right, isn't he? He's all right. No, it wasn't a bad game. I just feel like they were really overreaching for the price of it at the time because it was the same price as the second, and I was like, hang on, but you've cut many hours out of it. But yeah, it weren't terrible. I don't think it was terrible. I wouldn't put it in S tier just purely because of the fact it was such a short game in comparison. I'd probably put it in A.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't badly made. It just fell short of a bit of a few hours,
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Yeah.
I got no problems with that. I mean, it's your list anyway, so.
I feel like maybe I'm being a bit too generous here with some of the games, but
I think you've been very nice today. Yeah.
Yeah. Cute. Makes a change, doesn't it?
So actually, I was about to go to Resident Evil 4 remake. Let's talk about Resident Evil 4 OG first.
Well, OG just has always been my favourite Resi game. If anyone asks, and whenever anyone says, "Oh, the remake," I'm like, "No, the whole thing. Remake the new one and the old one." But the old one, weirdly, I played on the GameCube. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it was exclusive to the GameCube at the time.
Yes, it was.
Originally. Yeah. And we'd just sort of fallen into GameCube territory. And all the games on there were quite, they were Nintendo games, so they were kind of cutesy and silly. So I was like, get it. We must have it. We must have this horror game. And I absolutely adore it. That is an S tier game for me. The setting as well, it being not in RVD, it not being in a city, made it scarier, being in this little, creepy village.
Yeah.
And anything that's got a cult, I'm in 100%. They're so creepy. It's so creepy.
Yeah.
But so good as well. And obviously we get a lot of Leon in it, which is not the worst thing either.
No.
Yeah, I thought it was a really, really good game. And I actually played the original before the remake not too long ago, and it holds. I'd say it holds. Tank controls, which we know, but I think graphically it still holds well today. So yeah, I'm sorry, I am putting that also in A. A is big here, isn't it? It's going in A. No, it's going S. No, it's going in S. What am I saying?
And then the remake?
Yeah. S also.
Yeah.
I squealed at that. Because it's just a shiny version of the original, isn't it?
It's great. It is really good.
I will say, in all seriousness, with the 4 remake, the things that they did improve on were the things I really hoped they would improve on, because obviously 4, when it came out, times were different.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily. I'm not saying that it was correct, but some of the language used in the original 4 was a little inappropriate, and we knew that at the time, to be fair. And having a female role that couldn't defend themselves and was weak and pathetic was kind of it irked me somewhat. So to see that character like transform into like more of an independent person, and not having to babysit. Oh.
Yes. Yeah, agreed.
Sadly, you couldn't put her in the bin either, which I kind of was sad about. Because in the original, you used to be like, get in the bin.
Get in the bin.
Yeah. But I really liked that. It wasn't virtue signaling. It's just how it should have been all along, that she could take care of herself. And I really liked that.
Yeah.
And I think there was a few other little phrases that they cut out. So like, oh, that is a bit creepy, actually. But graphically was just, honestly, I went high pitched so many times when I played that. And the DLC as well, because I'd never played the DLC originally. So yeah.
All right.
I think there's a blurb circulating of me making high pitched squeal noises. I thought it was fantastic.
We got Resident Evil 7.
S.
Yeah.
Move on. S next. No, I feel like people were divided with 7 or Biohazard. I don't know I call it 7. I just call it 7.
7. Yeah.
It was everything I needed it to be at the time. I think I'd played Layers of Fear or something. I'd been playing a bit of horror, shockingly, and I was like, I need something beefy, and it so good for horror. Like it was the turning point for Resident Evil, and I don't know how you feel about it, because it very much did change how Resident Evil is.
Yep.
Completely. But I loved it. I can't even get my words out, because I'm just remembering how I felt when I first played it. Like that sort of first hour where you're just wandering through that house was some of the most tense minutes of my life. Like,
arguably for me, it's the scariest Resident Evil game ever made.
Yeah. And the story's cool. Like, I thought the story, I was like, okay, it is a little bit far fetched from like a Resident Evil stories, but it's still in the same vein, and also kind of creepier.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just scientists in a lab making this dodgy man-made chemicals anymore. It had gone everywhere, and it was causing ruckus all over the place.
Yeah.
And you get really, I felt like the characters in the game, like the family and stuff, I became really attached to most of them.
Yeah.
And it's almost sad. It's almost got like a sad element to it. But I thought it was a game changer for the Resident Evil series personally, and for horror in general.
Yeah. I was agree.
Just,
I really enjoyed that. I think I only really have 2 criticisms of 7. One is as the game goes on, it loses its legs a little bit. It just get a bit too, especially when you get to the boat.
Yeah, they could have cut a little bit out of the boat part for sure.
And the enemy variations lacked a bit. for me.
Yeah.
That's literally my only two criticisms.
Yeah,
The
no,
story's
that's
great, the
valid.
atmosphere,
That is,
the
yeah.
gore, the terrifyingness. Again, the Baker
Mm-hmm.
family, the characters, the personalities. Yeah, one that's
Yeah,
the
it just
scariest RE game I think ever made.
yeah, I absolutely agree with everything you've said, in fact. But just saying with the variations of monsters being different, but they used people as the monsters, and I kind of liked that.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, could have had a little bit chopped off, and it wouldn't have been a loss.
No.
But
No.
yeah, I absolutely blown away by that. That's got to be S, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, I personally probably put it under A, but I totally, yeah, it's your list.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm being very generous. If anyone that works for Resident Evil's out there, just
with the S's, and
I'm so
love
sorry.
horror so much.
I love horror. That's it. I can't.
You like that cat meme? I love all the horrors.
I feel like we've got some stinkers coming up, though. I'm sure there was a few. So
sure.
Yeah.
Well,
see.
let's finish off Resident. Oh no, we're not quite there with Resident Evil finishing yet. We have, but second to last one, we got Village. Resident Evil
Village.
Or 8.
I thought was great. Quite a lot of spoilers floating around. So one particular character, should I say, that we were all very aware of before playing the game, right? So that kind of ruined it for me. And I was led to believe that said character, would be in the game a lot longer than they actually were. I was tad disappointed at that.
Yeah.
I liked it. It didn't have the same scare factor as 7, but it was a very cool continuation of the story. The monster situation for me was a bit like, these are like virtually werewolves, right?
Yeah.
They were. I didn't understand the correlation with having werewolves in because I understood. I guess you call them the bosses, the bad bosses in it. I understood how they came to be. That all made sense. But I was like, but werewolves? Like, it didn't fit in for me. So it kind of took away from it a little bit. But the voice actors in that are really good.
Yeah.
And I was just happy to see the story kept going. Even though I sort of weirdly disliked Ethan, I was kind of happy to see him again. I'm not giving this A.
No.
Or am I? Oh no. Or S. No, I'm not. No, I am. I'm A, but not S.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was a good game. But yeah, I had a few issues with it. The DLC was I really enjoyed the DLC though. Very much for that. So yeah, good, but not as good.
Sure. Yeah.
Would be my
Sounds good. And then we got the final Resident Evil game. We got Resident Evil Revelations.
Revelations. I don't know what the overall consensus is on that game amongst the Resident Evil community, but I personally really loved it. I think they were on sale somewhere. Like, I've got physical copies of them, so I got them dirt cheap, and I thought, well, why not? I'll give it a go. And yeah, I get that some of the characters had been changed a little bit. I think was one of the issues with it. So I think Jill. I want to say Jill.
Yeah.
Might have been Jill. Yeah, she looked a bit different.
Yeah.
I thought it was a decent Resident Evil game. I'd go as far as say I actually like the second one too, which I know people really didn't like. I wouldn't put it as top tier Resident Evil game, but I've certainly played worse. I've got some very fond memories. Again, this was sort of early stream days of me really losing my shit over certain parts of that game in frustration. I'd put it in B.
Yeah.
I think if you're an avid Resi fan, definitely worth a shot at least once.
Yeah. You know what? I've not played it properly. I played like a little bit of it and I didn't quite click with it, but I need to replay it properly. And I think it is two-player, isn't it? So maybe I can play it sometime.
Well, I know the second one has multiplayer. I don't know about the first one. I'll have a look. I'll let you know. Right. But yeah, I didn't hate it.
We got Rusty Lake.
Rusty Lake, point and click, kind of cute, very weird. Beautiful graphics.
Very Twin Peaks.
Very Twin Peaks, and so many WTF moments in that. Like it's It's almost not horror. It's just very weird, but it is. I can see why it is horror, but it's very odd. Very, I don't know. It's almost calming to play some of it. Like, there's no jump scares. It's not like, oh my god, I can't believe that's happened. There are some messed up moments in it, but I found it very relaxing to play those games.
Yeah.
Because they've done a few, didn't they? They've done like the hotel and
I've only
I can't remember what the other one.
I said the first Rusty Lake game. It was the Cubist game before then, but I've only played Rusty Lake so far.
Yeah, I played that one and then and the hotel one, and they're identical really. I probably wouldn't replay them. I feel like they're kind of a one-off thing, but if you want something that is peculiar, and I think peculiar is the right word for it actually,
agreed.
With really cute graphics, pretty, I don't know what the word is, it's definitely worth a shot. I'd put it in C just because it doesn't have that replayability, and it is only a point and click. You can only go so far with a point and click game, you know. It's not action packed, there's no jump scares, but it's a good game. Very well made. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Silent Hill, not a fan. No,
I hate it. It's the worst game franchise ever.
Yeah, dumb.
In the bin.
What a dumb series.
I know. Who'd have thought of that? Awful. I'll be doing them in order.
Yeah, Silent Hill
1.
Yeah.
Original. I mean, what else was out like that at the time? And I know we had this conversation on a previous podcast, but it really was like a whole new chapter in horror. I think we established the original Resident Evil came out first, right?
Yeah, it did.
And I know everyone kept comparing, and I don't know why, because they are not the same genre. They other than horror, that's where it sort of stopped for me.
Yeah.
Silent Hill was the first psychological horror.
Yep.
At least in my opinion. There might have been others, but that was the first one that I'd heard of, the first one that I played. And that's it for me. I just fell in love with the whole series pretty much. Such a unique story at the time. I feel like it's become quite a common theme now. Again, it's got so many different factors. It's not a combat game. I feel like people need to know this from the get-go. With all Silent Hill games, the combat is there, but it's not the pinpoint of the game. It's just in case you need to defend yourself, you can. But I thought it absolutely brilliant. And the way that they dealt with the fact that, you know, when they were changing scenes rather than just having a blackout, which is not a dig at Resident Evil, but not having that blackout and having the fog, like making a whole lore to suit that, I thought was brilliant.
Yeah.
And it just set the ball rolling for so many other good horror games as well.
Yeah, big time.
And movies. So I feel like S because of that, you know.
Yeah.
I played it real recently, like I replayed it, and I thought, I'm gonna hate it because it's so old. But I
enjoyed it. I think it's it well. Yeah.
Really hard to control now. Like the tank is not the word for it. I was like, I literally have to use a D-pad. But for its time, brilliant game.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I love the first one. I do think it got better, but I probably would say A. But I mean, it's your list, and
it's more, Do you know what though? No, I think you're right, because although it did pave the paved the way. Johnny's ruined the list, guys. Ruined my list. No, it did pave a way for a new genre in horror games.
Yes. Oh, it's a landmark title. It's up there.
There's only so many that are going to fit in S for a start, and I'm definitely going to be giving some other games S. So yeah, I think maybe A.
Okay. I feel bad now.
Yeah, we've just made me change my own opinion.
I'm
Thanks.
sorry.
No. I think that is valid.
Okay,
because
2, though.
This is why. Because Silent Hill 2 was the game changer for me, at least. I absolutely rate that game. Honestly, if you play it, you I don't know, younger people will probably be like, nothing really happens, but the atmosphere, especially when it first came out, the atmosphere was just something. It was so new to me. The noise, I love good horror noises in a game, and that had it all.
Yeah.
They did not muck about, and they knew how to make you feel a certain way without very much happening on screen. I feel like that's a real skill. The story itself as well is, again, it's not unique now, but back then it was a bit like, hang on, what? it kind of doesn't make sense for a really long time, and you're like, I don't understand what's happening, and then it all sort of falls into place, and you're left sort of a bit like, oh,
yeah,
okay. Like, it covers a lot of topics that, again, I mean, there are older games that cover those topics. A lot of them got banned, though, as we were discussing earlier.
yeah,
I feel like they did it in a tasteful way so as to not get banned and not pave over these things happening and bring it into a game. I felt like they did it in a classy way almost.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
You
Not
know,
only that, but I mean, it's also weirdly really replayable though, because again, with the layers of like when you do play it, you're like not sure what's going on, and then you kind of see the ending, you're like, what the fuck? And then you play it a second time, and you go, hang on a minute.
No, yeah, going into it's a bit like when you first watch Sixth Sense, isn't it? You got to watch it again after you know the thing, because then you're like, oh,
yeah.
And and just for the memes that came from it later on as well, because I don't know if you're in any of the groups across the internet, but there's some solid Eddie memes out there, and just, I don't know. When I got it, I didn't even own it. I think my friend lent it to me, and I was off work poorly, and it was one of them poorlies where you're like, I just needed antibiotics and I'd be better. What do I do with my time? And I literally, I stayed up. I stayed up till like 5 a.m. solidly playing this, terrified. I remember being so scared and thinking, "Wow, I've never felt like this with a game before." Like I was in love, fully in love. That's S.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've just one of the most important and amazing experiences in video gaming. Forget horror.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good. Yeah, for sure. All right, and then the third one, Silent Hill 3.
I love the third one. I don't know how the world feels. I feel like everyone loved it. Maybe not as much as 2, but I liked it. It's a continuation of 1, which was brilliant.
Yeah.
And you played a young teenage girl, which was a little bit of a change from playing like sort of middle-aged guy, which was a nice, refreshing change. Again, it kind of really covered more of the cult stuff. I felt like it covered it a little bit more. Also, it's Bread.
Yeah.
I loved the sass that she gave. Like, it really did feel like she was a sort of late teens girl. She gave so much sass throughout the game. And she wasn't this like pathetic young girl. No. Like she was badass.
She really was.
She really was. And I don't know. It brought Robbie in, I'd look around my room and I look at things on my purse. Yes. I'm like, all of this would not exist. So I would say like 2 and 3 have always been my favourite. So that's got to go next to 2. It has to.
I agree. I think 3 is S tier as well. It's again just so scary. I remember playing 1 and then 2. I played 1 and 2 a bit when I was younger. I didn't finish them, and then I revisited them when I was in my late teens. I really enjoyed 1, then I really enjoyed 2, and then I was quite comfy by that point, and I'd never even touched 3, and I played 3, and it scared the bejesus out of me. It's the scariest Silent Hill game in my opinion.
I think terrifying. Well, the graphics kind of were a little bit sharper as well, which certainly helped, but I feel like the setting, being in a mall, was, because quite a chunk of it's in the mall and in sort of older office buildings.
It throws you in as well. Again, it does
no
like there's no
it absolutely
no
does.
So it's like boom, you're in. There's enemies everywhere. Go on, crack on.
Yeah. And I think also thinking about it as well, it wasn't so frustrating being in the hospital as the second one.
Actually, the hospital
a lot less broken doors,
normal hospital,
which was nice. Yeah, normal. Yeah.
Otherworld hospital.
Got a little bit, that was a bit rough actually. But and I've just recently replayed the third one as well, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, I really love
it. We don't always need Pyramid Head, do we?
No, right? No, we don't.
We don't. We love him, but he doesn't have to be everywhere.
So here we go. Starting to get into contentious ones now. So Silent Hill 4.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I really liked 4. 4 was a neat little way of wrapping all the little laws together without feeling like a cash grab. And also it had that unique element of you're not leaving your room.
Yeah.
You can't leave.
Yeah.
And there's so many little things in there that I don't know if people notice, but like the banging on the window thing, I love that. And like you could ring the phone numbers on the billboards. There was a bit that I didn't even catch the first time I played it, I think, where it looked like it was raining, and when you actually went near the window, it was dolls' heads falling.
Yeah.
Like, just little, tiny little things like that. They really made the effort.
Yeah.
Story-wise, I feel like it was a kind of a bit weak in places. Like, it was a bit jumbled, but then it kind of makes sense why it's jumbled. But overall, I thought it was a decent game.
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And weird, and definitely deserving of being in the Silent Hill universe. I just don't think it was as scary as 2 and 3.
No. No, I suppose not. Yeah.
And over the years, I've seen people go from like despising it to absolutely loving it. So
yeah,
I feel like that says a lot. Also, there's a house flipper version of it. There's literally you can get the DLC of that room in House Flipper. So not that bad, is it? I think this is where I'm going to start being a little bit stricter. I'm going to put it in B.
Yeah, I think
just because it didn't. Yeah, it didn't grip me in the same way as the others, but I still was like, this is a Silent Hill game. Yeah. It feels like it is. It's just not the one. You know, I'd go on a date with it, but I probably wouldn't marry it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Silent Hill Downpour, though.
Wow. Okay. I feel like if you went into playing Downpour as just a horror game, it was really good. If you went into it thinking this is going to be a Silent Hill game, you're going to be a little bit disappointed. It was a good story. It still had the same sort of concept that Silent Hill games have, where someone done bad things and now you must pay by living in this weird world, you know. Same concept. I think the thing is with Downpour, although it didn't feel like a Silent Hill game, it was just that time where the graphics were getting better for games.
Yeah.
So they kind of had that, like, yeah, but our graphics are better. And they were really, you know, I haven't long, I'd say within the last year and a half, I've played it, and it does hold up quite well. It just wasn't gripping. It's an okay standalone horror, but it's not Silent Hill. It didn't feel like a Silent Hill game fully, you know.
Yeah.
But it had nods to it. It wasn't like they completely pretended Silent Hill didn't exist. It just didn't feel enough Silent Hill. So I'm actually going to probably put that in probably D.
Yeah, that's fair. I've not played it, but I tried. It wouldn't work on my. I couldn't get it working, to be honest, on my PC.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and then again, because of that, I've not played the next one, which is Homecoming. So.
Part of me really loved it, but I don't know if that was the experience of sharing that with a friend, because me and one of my friends were massive Silent Hill fans. So when that was due to release, we were sort of hyping each other up, and we done the whole which was I don't know if it was just an us thing or a 90s thing, but we used to share games, you know, before multiplayers were a really big thing. We'd sit and share a game, so we'd play a bit each, you know, like I'd play a bit, get scared, throw the controller over, and this was one of the ones that we said we'd do that. So for the nostalgic side of it and the memories, it would be top tier, but it felt cheap. It felt like a cash grab, and it was so linear that you couldn't get lost if you wanted to. And as much as that's frustrating in a Silent Hill game, it's kind of part of the love of Silent Hill, is that you have to try every blimmin' door and go every corridor. And Homecoming just felt like it'd be like, no, you can't go that way, and it'd stop the character and sort of spin you around. You're like, oh, okay. I wanted to have a look over there, but I guess I won't. They started introducing new characters, like new monsters into it, which I get you probably would have to at that point, but they just didn't feel. It didn't feel like they meant it when they're making them, you know. Yeah. And this isn't like, I'm not being horrible to any artist that designed them, because I mean I can't even draw a stick man, but it just felt like they were like, yeah, that's kind of Silent Hillish, I guess, you know. Just sort of. Everyone was like, yeah, it felt like it was a different team, and they definitely felt a little bit checked out. And the way they did chuck Pyramid Head in there was that was a cash grab for sure. But the story's kind of cool. Again, if they'd made that as a separate, just a horror story, it was kind of cool. Yeah, but just didn't do it for me. I think I'm gonna D.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did try replaying it, and I got about halfway through, and I was like, I'm so bored.
Yeah.
I would say play it once
okay.
if you're an avid fan, but like don't have high hopes. You might love it.
Until I play Downpour, I'm not playing it.
I mean, well, they're not. I mean, they're not connected whatsoever.
Not, yeah.
But yeah, if you want to play it in date of release, I get that. I respect that.
Then Silent Hill Shattered Memories, which is one I'm more likely to play than the other two, to be honest. But yeah.
That's interesting. So I'm not going to spoil it for you then.
I know it's a reimagination of the first game, I believe. Isn't it?
It is a reimagination of the first game. And going into that, knowing that definitely helps. If you go into it thinking, oh, it's a brand new one, you'll be like, wait a minute, I know this story. Hang on a minute. It didn't completely take away from the original story. Some of it they kept quite right. But it was made for I think it was made for the Wii originally. And then they ported it onto PS2. I might be wrong, but I was led to believe that is how it was. I feel like if you did play it on a Wii, it might be more fun. Like if you've got your little controller and you're, shooting stuff. But it was a bit of a grind, to be honest. They did severely change the ending quite a bit as well, which kind of really naffed me off.
I've heard it's pretty much one of the first proper walking simulator games as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. I mean, there is a threat in it, without spoiling, but it's literally the same threat the whole time. It's kind of a bit like, but there is a few aspects that I did really like, and I wanted to discuss them, but as you haven't played them, I shan't.
Okay, yeah.
There's some cool little elements that I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool and interesting, and very new for Silent Hill, but I wouldn't rate it. Let me see, what categories do we have? Probably F, because I probably loaded it up for 10 minutes after completing it, like a long time after, and then remembered why I didn't enjoy it and turned it off again.
Our first F.
Yeah, sorry.
No. Let's continue. So we've got Slender, the 8 pages.
Not a terrible game. I feel like it's quite a common theme, these kind of games now. You've got to do a task whilst a thing might attack you. It wasn't horrendous. I don't think I paid a lot for it, and I don't think I would have paid a lot for it. It was creepy, the concept of Slender Man at the time I did find particularly creepy. I don't know why. I feel like any horror that has a long spindly person I'm immediately freaked out with, but the hype was definitely more than the actual game. It's all right. I don't have really big memories of the game. I completed it, and I don't really have that many big memories of it. I feel like if they maybe remade it and put a bit more lore in, would have been okay. But yeah, it's you're hunting for pages whilst being potentially stalked by Slender Man. There's not a lot to it, so
that's all
I think F. I'm afraid, just because they could have really made a good story, a good backstory with it. I will add that I thought the graphics were okay. Actually, they weren't horrendous, but yeah, not for me.
No, that's fair. Yeah, again, it's quite bare bones, wasn't it? Let's be honest. So,
yeah.
Soma,
what a gem, an absolute gem. For anyone that hasn't played it, just go get it now. Go get it right. Like, I'll wait. Go get it.
Right, get it.
Yeah, hang on. I'll just pause this. Yeah. I think I stumbled upon it, again back in the PS4 days. I think it was on sale. I'd never heard of it, and I was literally judging the book by its cover. I read the little description and thought, yeah, well, it's only a few pounds, whatever. Give it a go. And I was blown away, like fully. And I guarantee you talk to anyone that's played Soma, I don't know anyone that said it's bad. I genuinely have not heard a bad thing said about it. It's made by the same people that make Amnesia. I'm pretty sure it's made it after Amnesia, but I might be wrong.
I think you're right, yeah.
It was so atmospheric that I actually disabled the threat of being attacked. You get the option. This isn't a spoiler. You just do at the beginning. You can either have non-attacking or attacking enemies, and I didn't want that threat, so I went for the non-attacking, and it did not take away from the atmosphere whatsoever.
Okay.
Which I thought was really, that's something, when you haven't got anything physically attacking you and you're still terrified. I will say that you have got to be in a relatively good mood playing it, because it does leave you feeling a little bit sort of I don't really know what the word is. just a little bit down. It's kind of a bit like sort of a no despair kind of vibe with it. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. Again, voice acting was good. Atmosphere was absolutely spot on. And the concept, the story. For me, I didn't see it coming either. I don't know if it's obvious to other people, but I was like, oh, hang on. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I do need to play it.
Really, yeah, really good game.
Where's it going?
So yeah, you know where it's going.
S tier?
Just call me S tier Sue from now on. Yeah.
S is for Sue.
Yeah. It is. Oh
right.
God, I feel like there's so many S tiers going on.
There's a lot.
Maybe
It's fine. No, it's fine.
We might have to have an amended podcast.
Right, next up we got Tattletale.
Okay, Tattletale is fun, right? It's fun. I done a Christmas. I think it was like Christmas Eve stream. So I was like, I need to find Christmas themed games that are still horror, which is actually surprisingly quite easy to do. And I actually think Shifty had played this originally.
Okay.
It's almost the same sort of vibe as Slendy, as in you got to sort of hide from a thing and do other things, you know. So it's that there's not much to it, but it's set in the 90s and it really does look and feel like you're in the 90s. And obviously the Tattletale is actually I don't know if I'm allowed to drop the brand here, but it's a Furby, you know. So it's that time whenever Furby's mid 90s, I guess. And it really does have those vibes of mid 90s. Somehow they capture that. I just felt it fell a little bit short on story. It was a bit like, oh right, so this is the whole do tasks, be chased, hide, be scared, you know. But I don't think it's a particularly long game, maybe an hour or two. And it's normally pretty cheap. So if you're looking at a bit of Christmas spooks, it's okay, you know. I'll put it in D just because it did give me very good 90s vibes.
There we go.
We
go. We've got the Closing Shift.
Oh, I was massively recommended a lot of Chiller Arts games. And I have been going through them, but Closing Shift was one of my favourites. Hands down, one of my favourites.
This is the one in the coffee shop, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing with it is that I genuinely enjoyed doing the chores in the game.
It's always the way with these Chiller Arts games.
Yeah. You know, you're in a coffee shop, people want coffee, you're making coffee. I genuinely quite enjoyed that, and kind of wish that they'd added more of that. I think some of their stories are a bit dark, but I think this one is relatively... I think it's a stalker maybe or something, ex-employee. I don't know. It's got... Have you ever played a Chiller Arts game?
I've not played them, but I've watched a lot of them, and I've watched this one. Yeah.
So they're notorious for doing jump scares that aren't associated with anything scary. They're really good at doing that. Really good at doing that. And there's quite a few of those.
Yeah.
I think it's clever because when you think a jump scare is going to happen when there's something scary is happening, it doesn't. And then you'll get some random, like, I don't know, like a woman turn up going, "Excuse me," and you're like, "Oh."
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. They're not very long. The graphics, I guess, are kind of analog horror graphics again. You know, sort of PS1. But they don't pretend it's anything else. But they're solid. This is a solid little game. I'd probably put it in C.
Yeah.
Because again, I think it's got 3 different endings, so you could play it potentially 3 times. I don't have the patience. I was like, I get the gist.
Yeah.
I'll just look online if I want to see the other end. It wasn't enough for me to keep going back, but it was enjoyable and a good laugh for sure.
Just before we go to the next one, did you ever play Happy Tumble Burger Farm?
No, do you know what? I think it's still on my wish list to this day.
Because that's very chory. But again, the story goes east, shall we say?
Yeah, I sometimes like a chore, you know. Sometimes I like doing the mundane tasks. I would absolutely detest doing in real life.
I would recommend you look at it because again, it's way more than the chores. But again, the chores are kind of like, okay, right, I got to make burgers, you know.
You get invested in those chores, don't you? Like, no, but I must do these things.
Yeah, and then shit happens, and you're going to go, okay, I need to investigate that, and then the game turns on its head, and then you're back to the chores again, and then so it's I'd say it's a bigger game. It's actually a few hours. I'd say maybe like maybe 2 to 4 hour game experience.
Nice.
It's
Yeah.
a bit longer than most of the chiller arts games, but
It
I
looks
recommend
very
you check
well
it.
made.
Yeah.
It definitely looks well made.
Um,
Yeah, I'll have a look at that for sure.
okay, we've got the convenience store.
Convenience store. See, these are the top for me. These were the top two chiller
Yeah.
arts games. I've played, I think, 5 or 6 of them now,
Yeah.
and these two are the ones that really, really got me.
They're the two that come up the most, I think, as well.
Yeah. The story for this was cool. Definitely not something you would really figure out from the get-go. Again, you've got your chores. I personally don't recommend working in an actual supermarket or a convenience store ever. Don't do it. That is a real horror. But I quite enjoy that. You know, you've got your rude customers and the people that just sort of jump up in front of you going, excuse me. And you know, but then it does take quite a turn, and it does get quite creepy. I would probably say it's a bit creepier than Closing Shift. But again, there's only so far you can go with it. It's not a long game. Again, I think it's got 3 different endings possibly. But I would. Where did I put Closing Shift? Where did I put that? See, I feel like I need to put them together because although they were both really good, I probably won't ever play them again. Sure. And I feel like that's quite a factor for me with games.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
But if you're a horror fan, and you like that sort of analog horror style, as well as the mundane tasks, I'd definitely give it. I don't feel like I'm selling it, but they are enjoyable, but they are sort of one play ponies, you know. Yeah, absolutely are. Yeah.
The Evil Within. We haven't got the second one, but the first one's here.
No, we haven't got the second one, which is good because I didn't ever finish the second one at the time. So, I really liked The Evil Within a lot.
Yeah.
You haven't played either?
I played the first one. Yeah.
You played the first one. Okay, yeah. I really liked it because I felt like, to begin with, it sort of led you to believe it was going to be one thing, and it absolutely isn't that at all.
Yeah.
I thought it was quite a unique story, but then it also had the same vibes with Resident Evil, where you're shooting things. But this was a little bit like deeper because you were collecting like parts, and you could upgrade your weapons. You could upgrade your brain essentially in the game, basically. Which I thought was very cool.
Yeah.
I find it was very unique. I wouldn't say it was scary. But at this point, I think when you're playing games like that, you're used to being chased by stuff. But there had some scary moments in it for sure. But the story was really interesting. I found it very interesting.
Yeah.
Also, it was quite a difficult game. I died a lot in it. But I never really got really frustrated where I was like, right, that's it, I'm going to turn it off. Like, I kept wanting to keep going back to it.
Yeah.
So I thought it was decent. The graphics were good, characters good. Probably lacking a bit of atmosphere, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
At times there was a lot of silence. I remember like certain places, certain parts of the maps that you walked around, it was quite silent, where they could have added some spooky sounds or just made it a bit more atmospheric. So I think I'll probably give it a B. I have played it 3 times, so.
No, there you go then. Yeah.
B.
I don't know if I need to feel like I need to play it again personally.
No, I mean, if you've played a really good game and then you start streaming, though, you definitely have to bring it back into the fold, don't you? But
yeah,
do you know what I mean? But yeah, I probably won't play it again.
Yeah, I like Evil Within. I didn't love it. I think the beginning is really good. Like, it's one of my favorite intros to the horror. It's like balls to the wall, like horror. What the fuck's going on? Throws you right in the deep end. You're like, Jesus.
Really, oh yeah.
And then it doesn't quite.
It does.
It then takes a step down in terms of that. It doesn't keep the intensity, which is fine. You don't need it to. Yeah, it has its peaks and troughs. I think there's certain peak moments. Like I remember again the chainsaw boss fight being quite.
I can't remember what his name is. Yeah, he was quite scary, wasn't he?
You got the safe boss was something, but I hated the fire boss. You talk about like getting frustrated. There was only the one part of the game I did get really frustrated, which was the furnace fight, shall I say?
Yes.
I hated that.
The spider thing, lady thing. Yeah.
I hated that. I think the second one. The first one was fine. The one a bit further along in the game.
Yeah. I get you. Oh god, yeah, that was actually. There's me saying I didn't get frustrated. I feel like there was a few.
Really frustrated with that bit, but most of it was fine. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Good concept.
Yes.
As well. Yeah.
All right, Last of Us 1.
Oh. just S. Move on. Next. No, I loved that game. Would replay many times. I think. Everything about that game for me was ticked all the boxes. Weirdly, it's not even the horror that I cared for in the game. It was like the character development and the relationships. And it's that same thing that you get with any sort of zombie show where the real threat is the people and not the monsters. And that very much covered that. There were some very nasty people in that you got to get your revenge on, which was lovely. But yeah, I fell in love with it. I was wowed by it, in fact. And it's going in S. I'm sorry.
No, it's
yeah.
I've never played them properly, but I've heard they are just.
Yeah, this is why I'm sort of trying to not
masterpieces. Yeah.
Saying that, actually, I'm lying. I'm massively lying. There is one particular variant of enemy that made me personally quite anxious, but in a good way. But it's good, you know. There's a lot to it. You're not just shooting things and running away. There's a whole big story, and yeah, I don't want to spoil it.
No, yeah.
But I feel like a lot of people have played it and would definitely replay it, and I recommend 100% S. Yeah.
And then the second one.
I'm putting it in S. Don't care. Come at me. Come at me. I don't. It's so hard to talk about too. So trying to navigate round a part that there's bits in the game at the beginning that people were like, I'm not playing this, and turned it off and never went back to it. And I nearly became one of those people. And then I was like, look, no, there's a reason that they made a second one. There's a reason that the decisions have been made that have been made.
I think
Stick
I know what
with
you're
it.
talking about. But yeah,
and I'm really glad I did. I really am glad. I know it got a lot of hate. It got hate for very wrong reasons, because people didn't like the representation it had in the game. And if you're one of those people, you're awful, and that's your problem.
Yep.
Yeah. I liked that. It was, again, it got accused of virtue signaling. I was like, no, these people just exist and should be represented in games. That's not, if that's not virtue signaling. It's just like, that's how the world is.
Yep.
It's very gritty. There's a few, it makes you, how do I talk about this without, there's times where the characters you once loved you will end up really despising at certain points, but then you kind of have to look at things from their perspective.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is what I did. So therefore I didn't end up hating anyone, because I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was brilliant. Again, really well made. You just need to get over certain parts of it, unfortunately. It is what it is. And without spoiling it, I'm warning you that you absolutely don't need to shoot dogs, okay. Which I didn't know until 3/4 of the way through the game, and nearly had tears because I thought you had to, which I was really angry about for the entire time. Why does it make you kill dogs? And someone's like, you don't have to, you can just do this. And I was like, yeah. So just, that's my only spoiler, is you don't have to. There are ways. Yeah. Because you might have done what I done and gone, okay, I just need to suck it up, and it killed me a little bit.
Okay, down to the last few games now. We've got Tormented Souls.
Okay, Tormented Souls. I feel like this is more of a Johnny Beard game than a Brutal Sue game.
Yeah. I've looked. I've not played it. I had watched a playthrough of it. Well, not all of it. I couldn't get into it. That was why I watched a bit of it. And I was like, I don't know if I quite like this.
It felt like it was a mashup of Silent Hill and Resident Evil.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah.
It had sort of kind of strange graphics, because they were modern but not modern.
Yeah.
But they wanted to have the fixed camera angle. They wanted to, give that nod to the older horror games. Painful is the word for me. I never completed it. I had to stop playing it for my own mental well-being. I really, to this day, I actually don't know the full story, and it was quite an interesting story, but I just struggled so much with it was stingy with ammo. If I remember rightly, you couldn't keep the map. You had to keep finding a map on the wall to look where you were. I might be wrong about that, but it was a lot of frustrations that I personally don't have the patience for. That doesn't mean it's a bad game.
No.
Nor does it mean I'm a bad gamer, but we all have our preferences, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I felt like for me, it was a bit too frustrating. But I know other streamers that have absolutely adored it. I think Araxi loved it. I'm pretty sure she completed it and loved it. And I feel like you're a pro at the Resident Evil games. You are king of fixed angles and tank controls. So you'd probably be fine with it. But definitely, if you're going to play it, go into it knowing those things, because it was quite challenging because of that. So I can't fully rate it because I never finished it. But just going on the frustrations I experienced, I'd put it in D, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Graphics were good though. Good graphics, good voice acting. From what I gathered, good story, but just for me, it was too frustrating to enjoy.
Yeah. Fair. Completely fair. Until Dawn.
I love Until Dawn.
Me too.
It's so bad, it's good.
I love Until Dawn.
So obviously the graphics are pretty decent, and it's got famous people in it, which is always I love a good decision-based game. I've played quite a lot of non-horror decision-based games, so it was quite nice to have a horror one.
Yes, right.
I think the real thing for me was that I had zero guilt on who got killed in that game. I really disliked nearly every character, and I don't mean that in a bad way. The actors are doing their job well,
yes, exactly.
because I disliked everyone in it. Yeah. Some of the dialogue in it just is so cringe. I think it is totally done on purpose, right? But I felt like it sort of paved a new sort of type of horror again. Obviously, it's made by the same people that done the Dark Pictures anthology, which why that didn't get classed as the anthology, I don't really know, because it is essentially the same. It's got the same
it's a much
concept.
Bigger game, I suppose, isn't it?
It is a bigger game, yeah. Bigger. I would say, I don't want to do spoilers again, it's kind of an older game, but I liked the fact that it wasn't like just a murderous person chasing you or any of that, Yeah. And some of the deaths are very elaborate and fun.
Oh, yes.
I would say it's definitely got replayability. I played it, I think the first time I played it, like seriously trying to do good by everyone. Once I got the gist of the story, my second playthrough, I purposely tried to murder people. I cannot tell you how difficult that actually was.
Yes.
Accidentally murdering people, easy. Yeah. Intentionally, not as easy as you'd think. Unless you just put your control down, I suppose. But I thought it was fantastic. Yeah. I'd probably rate it a bit lower just because some of that dialogue just I don't know if they do it on purpose, but I was like, this is not how teenagers talk. But definitely a B. Yeah. Definitely a B. And I'd probably rate it over some of the Dark Pictures games actually. Because like you said, it's a chunky game.
I think personally it's an A tier game. But I obviously respect your decision. I think it's great. I love Until Dawn.
And it's got some cool jump scares in it that you don't expect, which is always good.
Yeah, I've platinumed it. I've got all the endings. Yeah.
Have you? Oh, nice.
Yeah, fucking love
it. Yeah, I went through my whole playthrough of Kill Everyone.
Yeah.
Oh no, it wasn't Kill Everyone. There was two people, but mainly Kill Emily was the goal.
Yeah,
I think. Everyone hates Emily.
Everyone hates Emily.
It was to keep, because it's got quite a lot of sort of semi-famous people in it, hasn't it? And I can't think what the guy's name is called.
Rami Malek.
Yeah, not him. It's the dude that was in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know what his name was.
Yeah. Oh, Christ.
I wanted to kill him, but I failed on that. And then realised that the girl that I'd saved was the wrong one, so I was really annoyed at myself. But it has got quite a cast in it. I think one of the girls was in Mean Girls 2. Which I was like, why do I know her? And I was like, oh, shameful secrets. It's decent. I can see why you rate it higher. I feel like there's only so much you can do with it.
Sure.
And then you're sort of done, But definitely recommend it for anyone that likes the decision-based games.
Oh yeah.
And especially if you're a streamer, because you can put it on your viewers to make the decisions for you.
Oh,
it's fabulous.
It's a great idea, isn't it? Right, last two. We've got Visage or Visage.
Visage.
Visage,
As
mate.
us scummy Southerners say. No one ever wants to say it properly, but I can confirm it's a French game dev, so it is actually meant to be Visage, like the 80s synth pop band.
Yes.
Well, we were talking about PT. We were talking about PT
Yes.
sort of missing a trick, and this is the trick. I know some people weren't that keen on this, but I thought it probably one of my favorite horror games for a long time.
Okay, yeah.
The hype for it was real, but justified, in my opinion. There was a couple of little niggles with it. I think the inventory side of it was a little bit complicated at times.
Yeah.
Ended up with just loads of light bulbs in your hand, and you're like, I don't want these. How do I put them down? There was a bit. Yeah, it was. Why aren't these in boxes? This is health and safety. It was. Yeah, there was a couple of little tiny bits where you were like, oh, that's kind of annoying. But overall, I don't remember there being any terrible bugs. I don't remember there being anything that took away from the horror of that game. I feel very much like you do need to play it in a specific order to get the best out of it. I already knew that going in. I didn't know of anyone's story in it, but I knew that if you played it in a certain way, it was going to get progressively scary.
Yeah.
And I have since seen people playing it backwards and they've got a bit disappointed. So I feel like that's kind of important to know going in.
Yeah.
But it was everything PT could have been.
Yeah.
Would have been, should have been. Top for me.
S.
Yeah, I haven't replayed it.
Yeah.
Not that I wouldn't. It's just I needed to really get it out of my memory so I could go back into it a bit blind again.
Yeah. I have a love-hate relationship with Visage.
Right.
I really like you said, like when it comes to what we envisioned PT to be like as a full fleshed out game, I don't think there's a game that incorporates what most people think it would be as Visage. I think that's the game we
Agreed.
Probably there was also like Allison Road that didn't happen.
But I know.
R.I.P. But Visage was the one that came out that people were like, right, okay, I think this is the PT clone, so to speak, should we call it?
Yeah, they Supermaned their way in. They're like, I'll save the day, and you're like, okay, you did.
And and for that, we're thankful, and I think it's very on that basis, it's very good. I do think that, like you said, some of the inventory systems, some of the having to inspect certain things was really difficult. Again, it was very much like, what the hell do I do next type of thing. But it didn't. It does
don't
not
get me wrong.
Yeah.
It doesn't. As we've now kindly called it, consulting the Oracle did happen a few times.
Yeah. There was a lot of bugs
Google
when it first came out. I think if you play it now, I think it's pretty much set. It took a while for that to kind of happen.
Yeah, I do. I recall hearing a few bits that weren't quite right with it. I personally didn't encounter that, but yeah.
But it was fucking terrifying. It was really scary.
Yeah.
Very claustrophobic. The stories, very different stories, dealing with very different themes that were all, I thought, were well told. I actually really did like this. I personally couldn't put it as S, but I probably put it as like A or B. But I have a love relationship, but also a dislike with it as well.
Oh, no, that's understandable and very valid. I don't know. It like you said, it made me feel so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I can't put my finger on what it was either, because honestly, it didn't rely on jump scares that often. And I don't know if you remember the kitchen scene was a very like, what on earth? Like, I felt like I needed to rub my eyes. I was like, have I been playing too long? Yeah. Do I need to turn this off? So there's a few little curveballs that it threw. But like you said, it covers some really deep, dark topics. But it didn't feel like they were doing it just for the sake of being like, oh, look how gross or awful we can be. It was like, these things happen in real life. And I wouldn't say tasteful's the word, but it wasn't like sensationalizing these things. It was showing like the effects it can have. But yeah, there was just something about wandering around that house. Yeah. It was a lot. Yeah. It was heavy. Is that that's the word? Yes, it felt heavy to play. But I remember like my first sort of part playthrough, and I was so excited to get back to it. I think I'd completed one of the chapters, and I just remember again, it was that waking up on the day of playing it. It was like, oh, I'm so excited. But yeah, anyone that hasn't played it, don't Google the story, but maybe Google the order that you should play it, because everyone told me well, it was 50-50. Some people like you have to play it in this way, and some people like you can play it however you like. But I'm really glad that I kind of paid attention to that, because it might have been a bit disappointing for me.
Yeah.
Personally. And I'm just meaning the chapters, like playing them in a specific order.
I've only just realised, one game that's missing off this list that's really upset me is the Mortuary Assistant's not on here.
Oh, bullshit. And that's in my top 10 of all time.
Absolute bullshit.
Can you believe?
I'd put that into S tier, personally.
We're not going to name drop this tier list person, but I feel like we should probably send them a strongly worded email after this.
It's good for the most part, but there's some certain titles missing. Right,
yes.
We're down to the final one. It's been a very, very long episode of the podcast. Actually, I think it's the longest episode of the podcast
I'm sorry, I talk a lot.
But I've loved it. I've loved every moment of this.
I've loved it too.
Thanks so much for doing it. So,
yes, thank you for having me.
One more time. We happy for you? Let's end with that.
Left me very unhappy.
Yeah. I remember the trailers coming out for this game and thinking this game is going to be incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost feel like if this had been made into a movie, which it might have been based off a movie, but I feel like if this was a movie, it might have projected better, but I wanted to love it.
Yeah.
I know there's a couple of Nightbreed people. There's one in particular that is absolutely obsessed with it, and I slogged it for as long as I could, and I just genuinely was like, I can't play this anymore. I'm not enjoying myself.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because it's well presented. Graphics were lovely, kind of unique style of graphics as well. And again, voice acting, phenomenal. Lots of Cockneys in it, which I love. And again, the story, the concept, all of it, brilliant. There's something missing from it, and I couldn't enjoy it. I'd almost put that in an F because of how I remember how bored it made me feel at times.
Yeah.
I did like the sort of weird, you can't really tell what time period it's in though.
Yeah.
Because it had elements of like the 40s and the 60s, and yeah, I'm not sure if they ever established. They probably did. Probably everyone's sitting there going, "So you didn't pay attention?"
I don't know.
And like I said, the concept was great. It had real potential, and it might just be not for me, but I didn't enjoy it. And I feel like any game that makes you feel really like bored or depressed, you should probably just not play.
Yeah, exactly. That's so, the whole point of playing games, isn't it?
Sorry.
So, yeah.
Sorry, guys. Yeah.
There we go. It is done.
That's it.
It is done. That was incredible.
Oh, and that was only scratching the surface. Look out for part 2 next month.
We could easily do a part 2.
We could.
That's the thing.
Could have just done a Silent Hill one, to be fair.
Yeah. We narrowed it. Trust us, guys. We narrowed it down as much as we possibly could, and we still got a 2 hours 20-minute podcast.
Yeah. And for anyone saying, but these games were missing, we know. That was
we tried.
So many.
But
I could list many.
We did it about 40 to 50, I think it was. No, I think it was over 50. I think it's about 50 odd. But thank you so much. That was so much fun. I loved that.
I really enjoyed that. Thank you.
I could easily do another, like I said, do another horror podcast with you, any day.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do an actual horror podcast.
I was like, maybe we should.
But no, that was that. Oh, wow, that was so much fun.
Yeah, thank you so much. No. And I hope everyone enjoyed it. I hope don't cancel me, please. They're just opinions.
This streamer, if you wanted your £2 worth, guys, let's be honest. If you have paid and subscribed to this podcast, thank you. And obviously, you've got your money's worth today. That's for sure. Brutal Sue, thank you. That was
thank you so much.
That was, and check out other episodes of Streamer Stories with Brutal Sue. I think it's episode 8 was Brutal Sue's first episode, and then we did the indie horror episode as well, where we talk a lot about these games.
Yes, quite a lot of this gets covered.
So that was lots of fun, and definitely, of course, check out Brutal Sue on streams. Amazing streamer, wonderful.
Thank you.
Do you want to plug yourself? Where can we find you?
You can find me everywhere. I'm on Twitter. I'm on the dreaded TikToks, unfortunately. Instagram, Threads, pretty much brutal_Sue, wherever you may go. But most importantly, Twitch.
Yeah, definitely.
Where you will find me getting up to mischief and playing spooky horror games.
Let's go. The best kind.
Yes.
Oh.
Go stalk me.
Oh, well, thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it. I really have. I genuinely do feel like we could do I'm not hinting, but if you ever do want to do a part 2, just hit me up.
My Might have to. Might have to.
Yeah.
Well,
but yes.
Thank you so much again. Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
Thanks for watching / listening, guys. And I'll hopefully see you very soon. Much love. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.